It's 5:01, and we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Would you be willing to do our roll call, please?
Absolutely, ma'am. Committee Member Arnie?
Here.
Committee Member Loughlin?
Here.
Committee Member Toft?
Present.
Committee Member Trottier?
Here.
Committee Member Williams? Here. Chair Zierden?
Here. All right, let's go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Back on. All right, I'm on. Yep. All right. Item number 4 is looking at approval amendment of our agenda for tonight. Does anybody have anything to add or?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Oh. Sandy seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Open forum is next. We have anybody? No, Travis, I see you. You're just here to listen for now? Yeah. Okay.
I think the later part.
Huh?
I think one of the other items he's here to help.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then moving on to item 6 is looking at our minutes from our last meeting.
I have something. I noticed there wasn't, we talked about adding sliding hill and snowshoe trail, and that was not recorded. Discussion on that and having that on our February agenda. So I would like that to be on there so that we can carry that through and it's not forgotten.
Okay.
That's all.
So is that under
So you want more
detail?
detail here in this section?
In the disc golf course section,
This says snow path.
it says they flagged a possible snowshoe path.
It doesn't mention the sledding, I think, that's what she,
Well, we talked about, I guess, yeah, the snowshoe path and the sliding.
Designating a sliding
Designating
hill.
a sliding hill
Yeah.
and having that in our public, on our agenda for February. That's what I want. And so the public is aware that we're doing this and it's not really, that wasn't clear enough to me on there. So just a little more detail.
Okay, sure, I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
So adding sledding into that section. Okay. Is there anything else?
do we need a motion on that?
It'll be part of the motion.
Motion for
To
approving with the amendment,
Yeah, yeah,
I think. So,
I'll move. Make that motion.
I'll second.
okay. All those in favor with the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. All right, new business is election of chair and vice chair. So I'm just gonna turn that over to,
I guess I can take that, Madam Chair. So every year, obviously at your first meeting of the year, the committee needs to elect from amongst yourselves a chair and a vice chair. General process of that is amongst the members. Nominations can be, first you would do is just receive any nominations. And then once any nominations have been received, all nominations have been received, you would then vote on each one of those nominations.
okay,
Well, I will,
Diane?
Yeah,
Or-
and I
I-
should clarify,
Oh,
too, I'd also
sorry.
would suggest you do one at a time. So it'd be like chair first and then vice chair, not try to put them together.
Okay, starting with chair, I guess.
I would nominate Megan again.
So Williams
For chair.
nominates Zierden for chair.
If she wants to.
Yeah,
nominate Sandy.
for chair.
Okay, Arnie nominates Loughlin.
Anybody else? Okay, so now what? Yeah.
So generally, there'd be a motion, so there should be a motion for, obviously, for each one of these nominations, unless the nominator is going to withdraw their nomination.
Now we make a motion besides the nomination?
Yeah, so first we figure out all nominations, and then we make a motion, so to vote on, to figure out who is actually the chair gonna be. So you had identified who the candidates were.
Okay, so I can
go
make
in
a
order?
motion to,
So generally speaking, it goes in the order of the nomination.
Okay, so start with the first
Do we
one.
have any discussion?
Oh yeah, again, you can always go also to have, those nominated, that part of the thing is if you don't want to accept that nomination, now would be also the time to say that.
Right.
Before the vote happens.
Do you want a discussion?
Well, I just wanted to say that I think Megan's done a great job, but there's a lot of conflict with scheduling and things. So I thought that would maybe alleviate that.
I would say Megan's done a really good job, and it's a lot to ask somebody to be the chair, especially with the turmoil we've had this year, and I think you've
Right.
handled that very well. If this was a paid position, I'd say you should stay on, and it's going to be difficult for me to vote for either of you two, frankly. So can I abstain when it comes to the vote?
Well, and I'm happy to continue to serve. This is something I look to be on in the long term either way, but I also understand if there's anybody wants to have a change. For conflicts and things like that, I guess I would like to address that is I don't think I've been at every meeting except
Your daughter was
one
hurt.
when my child was hurt. Yeah.
Well, just having your husband being on staff, I mean, that is perceived as, from the public,
Maybe some.
some issues like that. So it's not anybody's fault or
Yeah.
the job that you've done, for sure. It's been excellent. I just bring it up
Okay.
as a point.
All right. And do nominees vote? Like, how does that work?
That would be a situation, it's not uncommon,
Like, I
yes,
feel like-
nominees, those nominated technically can vote. It's not uncommon that they abstain from the vote too.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right.
Isn't it
Yeah, this is,
very odd?
And we're one person short, too, so that,
Like, are you going to say, who's in favor of A and who's in favor of B? Is that what happens?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
do we need a motion to vote?
Usually, there's a motion of.
I can make a motion that we vote for the chair
I'll
at this
second.
time.
Then so with that motion, I just want to clarify that motion, is you want me to just call each one off and then, okay, sounds good. So let me just put that, okay. So I would say all those in favor of Zierden as for chair,
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
and those in favor of Loughlin for chair.
aye?
Aye.
Okay, so we're at a 2-2. So at
That's
this
why
point,
without
what can
Jim
happen
here.
is you could move on to a vice chair position and see if someone can serve in that position until the next meeting when maybe Mr. McKellar can be here.
Oh,
Kind of, you could push this to another meeting and agree to have, essentially at this point, generally what would happen is
do we want
kind
to
of
just
agree if
push it
someone who's
off?
going to run this meeting, either have the current chair, Megan, continue to be a chair for this meeting, or you could attempt to appoint a vice chair who would serve until a chair can be appointed. So I guess that's up to you how you want to wait. If you want to just say, you know what, let's wait until we have a full committee and have Megan run this, that's fine too.
That'd be fine. I'd be okay either way if we want to have Jim be able to be here, but I get that too, so.
And do we wait on vice chair?
Do we,
That's what I'm saying. So you can do either two things. You can move on to vice chair and try to nominate a vice chair. And then in that situation, the vice chair would do this meeting. Or you could just table this whole thing until February but then you just need to agree upon who is going to run this meeting.
Because, for example, like Sandy's is vice chair now, and
Yeah.
if someone were to nominate her for vice chair, would she decline
That could
it?
affect.
That could affect her chair, yes, so.
I recommend
the
we
point-
table it and we leave,
Move along.
let Megan run the meeting, and when we get a full quorum here next week, next meeting, we move forward.
Move it to them.
Can I just say something? And it's hard for me as, being nominated.
Right.
I know that there has been discussion, and it really is not a personal thing. And whether it's me or not, that's not the point. But it feels like there is, to some in the community, that there's a conflict of interest because you're related. And with all this stuff that's gone on in the city about the mayor and her husband being on the
Planning.
Parks.
planning and zoning, and then you're on this and your husband is part of the city, that there's, like this, it appears to what I have heard from some people that there's a conflict.
Maybe there should be policy change then. Because it's not,
It happened out of need for both cases.
Yeah.
Nobody was coming forward to be on committees.
Yeah.
And so you did it out of the kindness of your hearts, both of you, in those cases. I was just, period. And what I was thinking is, whatever we did, or whatever year it is, it would be switch the chair to the vice chair. So there's continuity. So there's, if the people are willing to do that, that would be a nice thing to do too, so.
okay.
So then I
Diane?
would want to vote for you for vice
Yeah.
chair, and that's why the whole thing is kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was under the impression that a conflict of interest meant you had like a financial or business interest that would, compromise or make your decision suspect that you were maybe favoring your business.
So
It's a public
technically,
perception,
when it comes to conflict of interests, if you want to talk about bona fide conflict of interest, it's not necessarily business, it's do you have any financial gain from this situation? With what's going on here, does Joe have any financial benefit from a decision that the parks made? No, because as we've kind of discussed before, he gets paid whether he does park stuff or public works stuff or sewer stuff. He gets paid the exact same. So from a bona fide conflict of interest, there is none. Now we can talk about, you can debate all day the perceived conflict of
Perceptions,
interest
yeah.
stuff too. So I think in this situation, I think what Committee Member Arnie is maybe getting to is it's not necessarily bona fide, but more perceived.
Yeah.
Again, it's bona fide that are the ones that like you cannot. It's when on the perceived ones, it's more of like, well, you handle it how you choose to handle it. So.
If we can get rid of any perception of favoritism on projects or whatever that might be, I think it's benefit to us, all of us. And takes that
I
out.
guess my P and Z and council experience is far different than what is here, because we were more talking about, I'm going to make a decision and my property's next door, so I'm going to zone it commercial and then make my property commercial, and I'm going to sell it for big bucks and put in a high-rise apartment complex. That's the kind of conflict of interest I would have been aware of.
That's not what we're talking about, no.
Not just because he happens to work here. There's
I
no
get
benefit
it.
to
There's
either
perceptions
one.
with anything.
It's reality.
And some people don't perceive that and some do. And I can't change people's perceptions, so they can perceive all they want.
So do we need a second on the motion to
So I guess
wait
what I'm
until
Table it?
Yeah,
next
so
week?
if-
Yes, because I will second that.
Okay. So I just want to confirm, Mr. Toft, that was your motion to, okay, so
Yes.
we have a
Move it to
motion
the February
from
meeting.
Toft, second by Trottier, to table election of chair and vice chair to February and have committee members Yurden continue to run this meeting.
Okay. All right.
We're going to vote
We need to vote on.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor
on that motion.
on that motion? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7B, the city council direction on disc golf course.
Okay, so I'm gonna handle this item as well, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So on January 2nd, as in your packet, I should say it really goes back to November, the city did receive a petition from members of the Breezy Point Neighborhood Alliance to remove holes 9 through 12 from the disc golf course expansion. The council then took up that petition during their meeting on January 2nd, so last week. And then after some discussion, ultimately voted to adopt a list of recommendations that were provided by Councilmember Roney. They are attached to your packet. So the motion that was made and then approved was in your packet. There are, Daniel, if you want to go pull those up. I think
Section
it's
7.
22 different items, bullets. The first 12, the motion that was made was to do these items. And then the second 10 were items where it starts with some other items to consider and ask parks to continue. The motion said to do these first 12 and then have parks discuss the remaining 10. And so what we're here to do tonight is kind of talk about that kind of briefly. Again, from a staff's perspective, did not see this before the council meeting, so didn't have time to review it. Wasn't really asked what we thought about it or given any input on it. And so we as staff haven't had a lot of time to really dig through this. There's a lot of different actions and directives here in these first 12 bullets. So we haven't had the time to really go and figure out what needs to be done for each one of these. Having done some cursory review, Joe and I have talked about it, Daniel and I have talked about it a little bit. Obviously, these are directives of these things that we are going to be doing, but we're going to be relying on the Parks and Recreation Committee to give us some direction on the nuances about them. Again, for example, as I put in my memo, there's multiple directives involving signage, signage on property lines, signage. Some of the signage you've actually already talked about on directional signage to and around the disc golf course and the roads. So we're going to be relying on you to figure out what does that look like, where do they go, what's the verbiage, trying to get things all uniform in the design of these signs. So there's a lot here that Parks is going to be involved in. And then obviously the remaining 10 are items that the council is also looking from you. Some of them may be recommendations they're looking for or some kind of implementation there as well. So again, we haven't had a lot of time to look at it. Council's on Tuesday. We got it Tuesday night, and then influenza ravaged City Hall all last week. So really what we're here to do is just kind of wanted to get these in front of you. Our plan is to sit down, put together a kind of action plan on how to punch these out to bring back to you in February. I will say at this time, there's a lot of actions items here. And with everything that we have going on from a staff perspective, this is becoming our focus. We've talked about getting the master plan done because we are this close. I know Daniel's going to talk to you about that next. But then this is really going to become our focus from a staff perspective. With all the, from a bandwidth perspective, we really don't have much left beyond getting these things done because these are directives from the council to us to do. So our hope is that we can put this together, an action plan. We can get these punched out, at least from the park, whatever we need from the Parks Committee very quickly over the next few meetings. And then at that point, we can get kind of back to I'll refer to as regular scheduled programming. I do want to clarify, this doesn't mean you can't talk about other things. It just means that until this list is done, there isn't going to be a lot of staff support for those items because these are the direction we have from the council.
Priority.
This is the priority. Yeah. We have a lot of other projects ongoing and a number of other projects we got to get going in the next few weeks. So our hope is we can get this going, knock this out, and then get back to all the other great things that the committee wants to work on. So I guess I'll take any questions you might have right off the bat. I might not have a lot of answers immediately, but at least we can jot them down so when we do come back, we can get them.
Okay, I have a question. What of these might require an ordinance change. Can you point those out?
Yeah,
to me?
so some of these I mentioned may require a policy or an ordinance change. Like, for example, hours of park to be posted. Well, right now, we already have like curfew. So if we're gonna specify, we don't technically have specific hours in our ordinance, other than like, I think is like quiet hours. So if we wanna put these, like hours, if you wanna have it in here, they talked about, where is it here? Which line was it? Why am I blanking on it? Multiple places where it talks about, violators might be
Violators
maybe
of
banned
rules
from
to
the
be
course.
banned or fined.
Well, that's gonna require an ordinance to actually say, to be able to, you can, again, it's one of those things, we can sign that, but if we don't have anything to back it up, it's kind of a pointless sign, because if we're not actually going to ban someone or fine someone, then what's the point of that sign? And so to ban someone, to fine someone, we have to put something in ordinance that identifies these actions are a violation of the city code and therefore result in these penalties. So things like that, depending on which direction the committee chooses to go, that's where I'm saying might require a policy change or an ordinance change.
I have a question. I believe there's hours posted at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Are they different from this? Is that the issue? Because I think that one is sunset.
That one might be sunset, and there is, and I'm gonna pull it up as we're just talking. The beach is like the only park
That
that
has
actually
hours.
has like a defined, a section of ordinance. Because if you go to, is it chapter 90, yeah, chapter 91 of the city code, it's kind of weird, it's literally just the beach. And that literally says, public beach areas open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So like, that's an ordinance that is enforceable, but that's specifically only for the public beach.
It's just the beach.
Yeah.
Now, did council say this is what they want, or this is what they want us to decide? Because if it's what they want, why don't they just change the ordinance? They're the ones with the power to do it anyway.
And so that's where we're gonna talk about, so from our understanding, like in this situation of hours, this is what they adopted. So, if you want to recommend something else, you can, and send that back as a recommendation to be something other than this. And that's why, again, we just have not had the time to really dive through this and go, okay, what is something we as staff, is a staff thing, and what are things we're gonna need the parks for?
I think
So
those
not
are the
maybe not
hours
every
we had-
single bullet here is gonna be a Parks Committee item.
I think that's the hours we had recommended anyway.
It is.
So-
It is the hours we recommended. But yeah, I was
So
looking at the.
that's where what we wanted to do, again, because obviously, council, there's been discussion, some of you were at that council meeting. We wanted to get in front of you, make you aware of it. Our plan is to come back once we're gonna have some time to actually really go through this and figure out from a staff level, what does each thing require to get done? Is it just acquiring signs and figuring out what they say? Or is it, this needs to go into maybe the permit that we're gonna get going on again, because that's in here. Is it an ordinance change? Is it some other kind of policy?
Yeah, can we make suggestions to his bullet points? I mean, for example, the porta potty on hole 10 that he suggested, there's 6 homes surround that hole 10. Why not put it on 13, which is the furthest part away from the course? There's no homes there, and the closest home is a person I know that is a supporter of the disc golf expansion. So, if you're going to get to 10 to empty it, it's basically a flat run to get to 13 tee box to put a porta potty.
And that's what we're getting to. I don't think the council's against that. I think the intention here is there needs to be a porta potty. Again, the verbing that it is says 10, but if the committee says, actually, we think over here is better.
Recommend.
I don't
Right.
think it's a problem to make
Yeah.
recommendations, say council.
Oh, okay,
We still
so-
want to do the porta potty, but are you okay if we put it over here?
So I don't want, am I getting ahead of the game then? Should we not even talk about if there's any other suggestions we have, or we're just being introduced to it tonight?
This is really just being introduced, yeah.
Okay.
So we wanted to
Okay.
introduce it to you, let you
Okay.
know, we're gonna put a plan of action. It's gonna come back, we're gonna have discussion. Be thinking about it too. If you have like any recommendations, please note them down, send them our way if you want to ahead of time, so that we can be preparing to really guide through those discussions. Our goal is really just try to pound this out so we don't
Yeah.
longer
Moving.
than it needs to be.
So Are you saying tonight our focus is going to be this?
Nope.
No.
No,
It
so
was
tonight
just
I really
being
just wanted to
introduced.
introduce this to you
Okay,
and saying,
so-
your future, probably starting in February, we're going to start tackling this.
Shouldn't we have a separate workshop for this?
That's up
Like
to you.
we talked about for all the things that so we can just focus on disc golf, the permit, everything in one workshop.
And that, again, that comes up to you. If
And then
that's,
have
if that's how you would like to.
experts here to ask.
Well, I think that may be a good idea, but it may not be that many pieces that we have any say on. So I think after he comes back to us at our next meeting and says, okay, we've gone through this carefully. This is, upkeep things. This is Parks needs to make
I can already
decisions
tell
and then
you-
we'll know.
Just the first item on there, finalizing whole sponsorship funding capability is a large,
Oh, that's the can do, not the must.
these are the items that we're supposed to be working on.
But
This
we're
is
gonna-
for our
we're gonna- but I
committee,
would say
right?
we're gonna be
First
focusing
12.
on
First
the
12.
first 12
The
first.
top 12.
First
The
12.
top 12 first are the ones that council has said do.
These are
Like, we
priority now.
They are
Yes.
priority. The bottom 10 are council.
Discuss those in the
committee, Kind of,
future.
once these are done, also discuss these.
Right.
But the top 12 are the priority.
So I
So
think
like
if
the
we had a
rules of
workshop, we
play-
would need to do
rules
the
of play,
first 12.
the finishing up of there's a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering about the dates, the target date, October 10th to 20th on the upper item, like the second dot down. Is that 2024? I mean, what?
At this point, I would say so.
So, and then what is this, May 10th through 20th? What year is that?
Well,
For 2020,
every year.
taking
This is
effective.
saying-
Every year, this is just saying, yeah,
That this is just saying that each year,
they will take
If a
the baskets
property owner
off
has-
on those dates.
yeah, if a property owner has a target, because that one's
So
not
it's
necessarily,
closed.
like this one's that, for example, I'll just say, that's items, that's a staff item.
Okay,
It's
so this
pretty much
isn't
saying-
moving a basket there, okay.
Yeah, so like that
Taking it
second
down,
bullet.
just taking it off,
them
taking it
down
out,
for the
okay.
season, closing for the season.
Is that what that means? Is
That's the way I understand
that
it.
what that means? That they would close it for the season?
That, no, from
At
what
the
I
end.
I don't think
understand,
that's
it
what they
says
mean, is
any
it?
target within 75 feet of, so if.
So it's when the foliage
so
is
if
gone.
So, for example, Mr. Toft,
quieter.
if you have a target 75 feet from your property line, you may request that it be removed from October to May.
It's,
That's not
it's when
shutting
the
down the
foliage
entire-
is the
that's
least.
not
After the
shutting down
golf
the entire-
season is
that's not-
over.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
they've been
not
playing
shutting
this-
down the entire course, that's removing any holes within 75
Okay.
feet of a property owner at their request.
Uh,
I don't want to get in the weeds here, so I'm ready to move on, and so we can talk about this at the next meeting, because, I do have 4 or 5 recommendations I'd like to throw out there, but, I'm willing to wait till everybody has a chance to peruse this and get acclimated to what
Yep.
they're looking at.
And again, yeah, obviously, we're gonna have a lot more discussion. At the next meeting, we'll have we're gonna pretty much take this list and we'll categorize it for you, so it's a lot easier to understand what needs
Well,
your
and if
action.
3 of us had questions about that one, then obviously we need to clarify that language so that it's
Yep.
very clear.
Yep,
Yeah.
If that's what council directed and what they voted for, we can only recommend, they might say, change it to, October 9th versus the 10th. I don't know. How much do they want us to change what they proclaimed? And then I have a question on where it says speed limit signs be erected on any path that Parks and Rec uses. Where are these paths?
I think in
Road.
that situation, they were meaning like, when they say path, route
The
might be a
route.
better
The route.
word.
Way.
They meant,
Street?
like-
No, the route,
they're
because it's talking about the
route,
road.
Not like,
On a street,
Talking about road signs, so if you say the route
yeah,
that
the
we
better word, they're
recommend.
talking about route in that situation.
We-
Because obviously, we're not putting speed limit signs on a.
Can we maybe get into those details, though, when,
A lot of this,
We
if
bring
they
it-
proclaim they wanted it, there's not much for us to do. If council said, this is it, staff make it so,
they want it to come back to us, though? They did.
Well,
Yeah,
Mr. Barone
there
presented
are a
all,
number of things that this committee is going to
Yes,
need to give
yeah.
direction on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of it seems like it's,
Yeah, I'm saying, even though it's a lot is doing, again, we want to get like, especially on the signage, like putting on the speed limit signs. Yes, we're doing the speed limit signs, but we want some input from you, because you've already been discussing this.
On the
of
route.
What is the route?
Right.
Because this one literally says the route that essentially you decide, put the speed limit signs on.
Which I saw your email about.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's 6 Miss Homes.
One,
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
We
So-
talked about. Okay.
are we planning on having tournaments this year?
So the council's action still stands until there's an approved permit, there will be no tournaments.
Okay.
And there's not an approved permit yet.
Okay.
So we're not scheduling any or accepting any requests for tournaments.
And as far as mapping goes,
That's not part of this.
yeah, it's on part of this, so if we move that T-pad, we can't do anything until that's done, and then we can make a map, because,
And that's where, again,
So it's like,
when we get into
you can't
kind of
work
making
on
our
one thing
thing,
till
we'll
another.
make our
Yeah.
action list of how,
Okay.
this is the, yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Moving on to old business.
wait, I do have one more thing, sorry, I made a bunch of notes. It says work on, well, this is a future thing, but plan to replace the matte T-pads with cement T-pads for budgeting. How is all this going to affect our budget? Is one major thing I would like to know.
That's
And-
something that Joe and I had already discussed about, and I know Joe's going to be working on too, is kind of with all of these, what does the expense look like?
Because that also could be something that could be sponsored.
Yeah, and again, that's under the
Yep.
future, so I don't think that's something they expect to be done by summer 2024. So.
Okay. All right, so 8A, please, master plan final draft. You had emailed that to
Yes.
us before?
Excuse me. So as you all know, we've been working on the master plan for the past several months now. Earlier this month, like I said originally, we were planning on getting it to you in December. I didn't get it done in time. I was able, however, in the latter part of December to get all of it done over kind of Christmas when things quieted down a bunch. So what you have before you tonight and what I emailed you, I think about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, is essentially what I'm calling the final draft. There's not, from my perspective, based upon the comments I've gotten and based upon everything that I think I can improve or change much more there. A couple pictures, there's a couple images I think I want to change out, just because I grabbed some images online just to kind of frame it up so that you guys would see kind of how it would look. Those will need to be replaced once we get back into summer and I can actually get out there with a camera and, get some decent photos. But most everything that's in there at this point, I would think, is kind of done and dusted. Main thing tonight, I wanted to give you guys a chance to look over it. If there are any initial thoughts of things that you really disliked or you wanted me to change, I wanted to make sure I got those notes down here so that I could get that finished up. Because if you guys are okay with the way that this final draft looks, my recommendation based upon what we had talked about last time was that we were going to try to do an open house for the master plan. So open house / workshop where members of the public could come in and we'd show it to them and talk about it, chat about it, do whatever, do a little presentation. Basically the same thing that we did with the City Hall workshop that happened about a month ago now. And if people want questions or answers, we can talk to them and then go from there. We're recommending at this point, we'd like to try and do that. I think I wrote February 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. here. That's a little further out towards the end of January. Main reason being we already have 2 council workshops scheduled for January that are taking place over the next couple of weeks. I don't want to have a lot of competition among the workshops if I can, 1. And 2, I want to make sure they each have time to advertise and I can put stuff out to press and get it up on Facebook and that kind of stuff so that people have some time to actually look at it without just overloading on random material that I'm just posting on a daily basis.
Should we first maybe make sure that there aren't changes that need to be made? Because I don't want it to say February 1st and there's changes that might need to be, I mean, I'm just opening that up because that might push things back another
Yeah,
month.
absolutely. It's whatever you guys are comfortable with.
So-
Like I said, I was looking for those comments first, so.
Yeah. Madam Chair, when I must have missed the workshop. I know I missed one workshop, and I must have missed the one where we talked about the community center. Because, as you all know, I've been adamantly against that, and I'm surprised that that would fall under our guidance. We have no power to make any changes. It's just a recommendation that we would make. But it provides a shield for the council to hide behind if they, well, Park and Rec said it was a good thing. You know, a lot of us don't say it's a good thing, and it seems to get a lot of ink here in this master plan.
I have something to say about that too. I was concerned that when we did the planning and we were all bringing in our wish list, it gets put on here. And then someday someone's going to go, but it's in your plan.
Right, exactly.
You know, when we're all just kind of like, oh, I would love to see this. I'd love to see a community center.
So
if we
you
could
think-
afford it someday down the road or whatever, but is it something that I'm,
Should it be an appendix? Could it be listed as one of the ideas of possibility in future, but not have it, all the appendices? Is that what, like the
No, it
full
just,
on?
we could say, oh, we want to put a Viking stadium here. I mean, it makes the same amount of sense to me. It's a $5 million project. Well, if we got no say in any of this, I don't understand why we're being put out there for 2 years from now if something changes. And, well, the Park and Rec Committee okayed this back in '24.
So what about like the garden? Like that hasn't become, that's a possible project.
right.
So should we have those appendices in?
Well, I don't know.
I don't
That's
see any
what I'm
difference
saying is
between-
that everything that we did was a wish.
Well, that was,
Your biggest ideas is what we were told, you know, and
but that WITSEF plan was older.
Center stuff in here is the history, and it is an appendix. It's Appendix D. It's not written on the paper. I wrote it in myself, but when I went back to the index, it is Appendix D.
for,
For the whole, all this community center.
Just
background and
informational?
history And the committee and all
Yeah.
that business, it's Appendix D.
Because it
And
came
the
from
feasibility-
WITSEF and the,
Yeah, and that's Appendix E.
Yeah.
It's listed there as this is a feasibility study, not,
right.
and then it does mention that it goes back to potential as 2011.
Survey
so-
that they did.
Yeah.
It ties to the survey of what the community wanted.
It needs to be
Correct.
there because it shows the long history of this.
Yeah.
And the extent of the polling and research and work that was put in. And
So it's informational of the past work.
But then I would like to put in there that it should say that the community, a council member told me the budget for the Cross Lake Community Center is $1 million a year. Every community center put up in the last 25 years is dependent on the community to the tune of 30 to 80%. So are we prepared for a $500,000 shortfall? Let's just pick that number every year once this thing's up and running.
I think-
mean,
So would
Not even on the near horizon, it's just way out
So,
there.
so to me, if you look on page 21, the title is a bit of an issue to me, that says new city projects, because I think that alone makes
to
it
find what
sound
page you're
like
on. These are
that's what
happening?
that these are happening. And I think that there's a way to word that.
Yep.
Potential future
Yeah.
city projects or.
Oh.
I mean, there's a couple key words there that would change that drastically from this is what we're doing.
Because
because
yeah,
that
the
is not
purpose of that
true.
section was
Potential
dreaming
future.
and possible future
it
projects.
says
Yeah.
new city
Just
projects.
It says new-
proposed new city projects.
Or potential.
Potential
I had scratched out
potential
new-
projects,
Yeah, I think
potential
that,
future projects. I mean, that's really what they are.
I think those two words, potential and future, change that section.
Yep.
Into a dream, not even a wish list, because that's not where we are with them. Some of them were farther, the garden were farther, you know, but the other ones,
They're
you're right,
sooner.
they're just our wish list or our dreaming list, not everybody's dream list.
I think that
I
takes
see.
care
So
of that
can I
part.
speak in for a second here? I actually think I understand what you're saying. So that language is possibly a little confusing. The way I was envisioning it in my head, and I'm just sort of drafting the best I can here, was existing city projects was like current places that were things that, like the park itself currently exists, but the plan is a future thing and then the new city projects, my brain, I was like, okay, these are things that don't exist yet, but could possibly be
Yeah.
projects that would be
It could
installed.
even say
And I see
potential.
But
your-
that language, I see why you would say that's confusing.
I see your
So-
section 4 is
Yeah.
future planning, so
Yes.
everything under that, but maybe since it's multiple pages, it,
I think that
we
I mean,
lost.
there's
gets a
also-
little lost in there.
Yeah, for what it's worth, if you would prefer, I could just get rid of existing city projects and new city projects entirely, and it'll just be section 4 future planning. I mean, there's no reason to divide it that way. I kind of did just because I did, but I could easily do that, or I could change the words or do anything you like with it. It's not that complex.
Well, as I was reading through it, and we went through each park we have, and then we have proposed improvements, and then we have future planning where they're kind of overlapping a lot. So I think you could take anything that's in an existing park, move it all over to here, so make sure every line from under 4 is under the proposed improvements, so it's all in one spot, not in 2 spots. It's going to cut it down a lot shorter, because those are the parks we have now and what we want to do with them, and it's just in 2 places. And then we have a whole section with this new title on it, of our dreams.
But that doesn't include, like, we haven't really figured out an ice rink yet, or that was a
But that would be
great
under
idea.
proposed improvements in City Park.
So we wouldn't move that over there.
Yeah. I just think that's, all our proposed improvements and
Yeah.
things like that would be there.
So
for
where it
existing
says city
parks,
park
pulled out.
improvements, that will be back over here in city park.
Enhancements to those parks, yes. Then we don't need to have it in 2 places, which got very confusing to me. And then it makes it real clear what we don't have at all, like a dog park or the community garden, we don't have at all.
And the wording in there does say, under future planning, the below section should be interpreted as an exploration of possibilities and desires.
Yep.
Not, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
That will make, though, devil's advocate here, is going to make all those proposed improvements a very long list, and yeah, but it would all be in one
Two
place.
different places, but it's not. So if we already have that park, that's where we should, why do we have proposed
committee-
improvements under that area? Either we don't have that there and it's all in the other area, or that's all under there, not both.
To be doubled up.
I think it's
Right.
just, looks a lot, like a lot, and it's just all the same stuff in a different spot.
Would it be possible to go page by page instead of leaping in the middle and say, who has suggestions or corrections for page 11? Who wants something brought to attention?
Well, this is just an overall
Structure.
combination of items, and I think,
Are we not going to look at each page?
oh yeah, we can do that, but I
You
think,
can look at each page individual if you want. I had no plan for this. It was based upon whatever you guys were comfortable doing.
Mr. Eck, I've read through this, and I've made just a couple notes. This is very well done, considering the broad brushes of information we gave you to work with. So I want to
agree.
commend you on this. And so we're nitpicking here, so I don't want to diminish
It's
your
your
work at all.
document. You can nitpick all you want. You can tell me to do it again. It's 100% up to you. I will
Okay.
spend as much time on this as you guys are comfy with.
No, I would agree with that. I think you summarized a lot of discussion well.
Yes,
yep.
second that.
I just think I would trust you to take what is in that section and move it under each park and not, make sure we're not duplicating and then we're not leaving anything up and we're almost there, but it just doesn't need to be in both spots.
Do you want to go
Then
page
it's-
by page? And then if people have notes, then they
We're going to be here till midnight, we do that.
Oh, that's what I thought too.
Not necessarily, there might, might be nobody has a correction on page 11. If you need to
Well-
leave, you can leave.
Okay.
What are you doing, Madam Chair?
What's the quickest way to do it?
I want us to be
Thorough.
efficient and thorough. So I guess if we get too caught up in semantics, I will maybe, if it's fair enough, to say, you know what, we need to keep moving along.
Sounds good.
Thank
Let's go
you.
page by page, just to make sure that we don't miss anything. But, yeah.
Take that one.
All right, I have something
That's
already
very
right in the
minor.
beginning of mission statement.
So
Do we
which page
offer-
are you?
On page 11,
11.
under the first thing, mission statement. Do we offer services we have the word services in there. And I think we should say opportunity.
You're on
I don't know. 11 of the,
It's page 5, actually.
It's page
Second
5.
Top right.
Okay, yes, mission statement, okay.
Oh, it's it's in the packet, it's page 11, I think.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking on the original doc, sorry. So that's why
Yeah,
they're,
and
yeah.
sorry, the packet
No,
renumbers
that's okay,
things.
okay. So the mission statement,
just the word services, I question, because
Could it
it
be
sounds like we're
opportunity-
offering some services.
Opportunities.
That's what I was thinking.
creational opportunities.
Yeah, just
Sure.
try not to be nitpicky, but that's the only thing I had on that page.
I had, on that page, and maybe I reread it a couple times, where it's the bullet points right under the objectives. I marked the first bullet point and the fourth bullet point. Are they this, could that be merged? Is it kind of repeating itself, or is there a different intention?
I think you're right.
Change amenities for
think we could-
recreational opportunities, and then it
And then we can nix,
continue developing park and community areas with varying recreational opportunities for residents and visitors
there's
alike.
like, yeah, I don't know, that was just,
They're very
all.
Yeah,
similar.
I think that makes sense.
Daniel, did you follow what I,
Yep, combine bullet 1 and 4.
okay. Takes one line out. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next page? Okay. My only question on this next page was under the timeline. I'm just a black and white thinker. I think of January being at the top of that timeline, but maybe there was a purpose for it being down at the bottom, but just have it chronological was my only.
I agree.
So same content, but just
Move January up.
up above April and May.
Okay,
Anybody else?
can do that.
Okay, next page starts with maintenance priorities. There, okay?
Something below that under communication priorities. I wondered, what is the city's marketing and public relations efforts?
That's just kind of a fancy word for my job. In the last council meeting, we had a bit of an extended conversation about.
Part of his job.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We had an extended conversation about duties in relation to, what I'm doing here with, Facebook and Nextdoor. We're developing a newsletter, certain things on the website. Right now, it takes up about 30% of my time is what I told the council, and sort of ran through all that. So that's all of just sort of the those things that I'm developing just kind of out of my office, all the writing I'm doing, making the pictures for the various social media posts, maintaining the
Is
website.
it kind of in response to the council's request to have more transparency and connect,
Yeah, just
in
generally
efforts
in
to
broad
be
sense.
informing the community more?
Yeah, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I think that should be added as a bullet point on the bottom, like keeping the website updated with clear links to maps or whatever else that would link from something in our social media and signage. I think that all should be
But does that,
communication priorities, because it is ours to keep that up. And we're working a lot on signage right now. So update website, clear,
I'm thinking,
Adding a bullet point underneath communications priorities
Yeah.
to
Website
list
and
out
social media.
yep, social media, and on the website, clear links, necessary links.
Okay, to specify more of the actual work rather. Right now, I'm kind of talking about the work, but like vaguely.
Yeah,
I'm just
General.
sort of like communication stuff because that's kind of how I see it in my head. You want a bullet point on a fourth bullet point there that's a little more
social media and
specific about like this is
Signage.
what we're doing.
all the communication things, yep.
Gotcha.
And that's a park plan.
this really doesn't fall under the Park and Rec, in my opinion, but under maintenance priorities, I made another circle there for Circle 4, and I just put, having a way to enforce all ordinances that maintains the city's natural environment. Because I feel we don't have very little in ways of enforcement in a lot of areas, because we don't have the manpower. And signs, up to this point, don't seem to matter in a lot of instances.
So adding a bullet point is what you're suggesting
Right.
under the
Right,
After the replacing?
yes. yes.
replacing worn and obsolete equipment, and then add a
Right.
enforce.
Okay, what's
'Cause-
the wording?
I just wrote down, having a way to enforce all ordinances that maintains the city's natural environment. And that would be having, them patrol the beach, make sure no one's, I was there once and I went there a few times just to see how busy it was, and people were fishing with, daredevils. Someone's going to get hooked one of these times, or, there was garbage once at the fishing pier.
But is that going to lock us into having to create or council to have to create ordinances?
Well, they said that they were going to patrol the disc golf course more,
Yeah.
was what they had been talking about, to curtail some of the drinking down there. That's what I mean. It's really not a Park and Rec issue. It's an enforcement issue, which
Yeah.
I've been told by a couple councilmen that they can't enforce some of this.
Well, and does that go under maintenance too?
No, I don't think so.
I just like it there that it's there.
I don't
That,
think
yeah,
it
we
goes
know
under
it's an
maintenance.
issue. We're working on it.
I almost feel like maybe,
I think the ordinances
Different
should
place.
match what our signs say, and somewhere that should be, but not under maintenance priorities, I don't think.
because I kind of see these as keeping up, the maintenance department, kind of their tasks.
So where does it fit then?
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering.
I know.
I'm looking. Maybe it's just something else under operational goals, under that section still,
Just up top.
but
Up
it's
at the top.
Yeah.
promise, priorities, communications, day to day. Yeah, could it be part of,
After that last sentence, on page 12, city staff will utilize in day-to-day operations and then enforcing ordinances in order to maintain natural city environment. So
Yeah,
down
I
at the-
like that, yeah.
But right down at the bottom here,
Yeah,
your wording, but just add it in.
Yeah, I like that.
so we're at the bottom of,
Right after, that bottom of that paragraph
Yep,
of
right here.
operational goals.
so ways
Got
to
it?
enforce.
I think it fits well there.
Yeah. Just say ways to enforce ordinances, ... for myself. Okay, so that's technically on the timeline page, but, okay. All right. Are we ready to keep moving? So we're still on this maintenance priorities page. Was there anybody else that had anything? No? Okay. So moving on to the page that has city park land, with the first picture.
I have a question. Is that park actually called Drive Park?
No, there's something wrong there.
I had put a city of, so I tried to solve that. So I said, if it's city of Breezy Point Drive Park, you're repeating it.
Too.
Yeah, I always thought it was Drive Park, actually. I wasn't.
Breezy
if you
Point
guys-
Drive Park, but I know we were talking about having the city of Breezy in our names, but is it okay on that one to say Breezy Point Drive Park? I don't know.
Well, our logo's on the sign, so it says City Breezy Point.
If I
But when we
can, I
refer
know
to it.
A lot of other cities, it's not like, I'll use example of like Brainerd. It's not City of Brainerd Lum Park. It's Lum Park.
Lum Park.
Now granted, on the sign.
On the
has
sign, it
City of
probably
Brainerd,
says City
Lum
of
Park.
Brainerd, yeah.
Yeah.
So
could it be just
So in this
Breezy
situation,
Point?
it'd be
Breezy Point Drive Park, I think,
Is it overkill to have the city of Breezy
Yes.
Point at the beginning of every single one?
Probably.
yes.
Yeah.
We had actually originally talked about that in one of the earlier
we
workshops. You
had
guys
added
kind
it,
of went back
yeah.
and forth a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And you sort of settled on this
We
format.
had.
I think in
so
our
I wasn't
minds
sure.
on the sign,
Sometimes though,
yes.
until you see it, it's not
I
as
think
clear.
on the sign, yes.
As long as it
On
has a
here-
logo.
Logo, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
the logo on the sign, but it doesn't need to be.
So for each park, Park 1 would be Breezy Point Drive Park.
Yes, Breezy
Park-
Point's,
Park 2 would be
Breezy
Breezy
Point
Point City
City Park.
Park.
Or City Hall? I've always, I mean, for
See, I
years
think
it
it's
was
just, like,
served
too
as
much.
City Hall Park.
then Breezy
name
Point
that
City
park, or that
Beach.
park.
Well, I thought it was City Hall Park, and that makes sense because it's next to City Hall. City Park, it could be anywhere. But City Hall Park, we know where it is.
And that's
Breezy
up-
Drive Point,
Hall will
Point
always
Drive,
be.
we know where that is then, because it says where it is.
City Hall works in there?
Yep.
Is that okay with everybody? So Park 2 is City Hall Park.
Yep.
Take Breezy Point off there.
Can we back up to the Breezy Point Drive Park?
Yeah, I'd like to do.
The third bullet point is, I think, and maintenance regularly should be removed off there because, or something's wrong there. Maintain property in good condition and maintenance regularly?
You're saying maintain a couple times there.
Yeah, probably just get rid of the last three.
Maintain property in good condition, period.
Done.
Seems like enough.
Okay.
I mean, you could put the word safe in there if you were looking for another word instead of maintain twice. You could put safe, safety checks or whatever. I don't know how that fits.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a maintenance thing though too here, like up in the operational goals, because it, maintain.
Then I would just
Upkeep
say
and-
maintain it in good
Yeah.
condition.
It is. We do maintain it.
Yeah, does it even need to be there? I mean, we should
We
make,
mow it.
our goal is to maintain all.
Just
Right.
We mow it. The site's not irrigated. It's
I think it's for
bare
us.
sand.
I think
It
it's-
won't grow anything.
I think it's for us to be like, oh, that's worn out, we need to replace it. Good condition as far as
It's-
that, isn't that what it means for us?
It has limited in its current, I mean.
Right, unless we
it's
do some bigger changes.
Pretty
Yeah.
drastic, yes.
Yeah.
So
for
just leave it,
instance-
maintain property in good condition, period.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Can I just ask a question? Okay, so on the city of Breezy Point Drive Park, and we're gonna have a logo that says, like we were talking,
City logo.
okay, can't we just change the name of that park to, take Breezy Point out of it altogether? Because we just have
That's the-
Breezy Point on frickin'.
That's the name of the road, though,
I know.
Breezy Point
Yeah.
Drive.
So people know how to find it.
Both of the roads say Breezy Point.
Breezy Point Drive and Breezy Point Boulevard.
I don't think anyone thinks the logo repetitive, it just says that that's, but that just says our,
Right.
It's a name of the road.
We
So I
know
guess if
that-
it was called Maple Drive, we would
know that
call
it's
it
ours
Maple
and not
Drive.
the resorts park, you know?
I'm not saying
Yeah.
anything about the logo. Put the logo on
Right.
everything. I'm just saying that everything says like Breezy Point City Hall Park, Breezy Point Drive Park.
Nope, it's gonna say just City Hall Park, we decided. It's not gonna say that.
Yeah, so Park 1 would be
Yep,
Breezy
just the
Point
first one, 'cause
Drive
it's on the
Park.
drive.
That's the name of the road.
Location so people can find
Park
it.
2 is City Hall Park.
Yep.
That's it.
We cut that Breezy Point out.
Should we just go through the names right now to finish?
I would
names?
like that very much,
Yeah.
just because
Park
I'm
3,
hearing some
just-
possibly.
We're not,
I'm
we'll go
confused.
back to the pages, but let's just get the naming done. So Park 3 would be
City Beach.
City Beach. Take City of Breezy Point off. So just City Beach. Okay. Park 4, boat launch. Does that work?
Oh, don't we have Breezy Point in this stuff to differentiate it from the resort? Isn't that
The
why we
logo
did
is
that?
above it.
Have our city logo on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
And if they're looking for it on our website, they know it's the city of Breezy Point, you know?
Right.
That's the other place they'd be looking for it. would
Well,
be
and
on
more
our-
people would go to the DNR website and look up the boat launch that way than they would go to
Yeah.
our website to find
Yep.
it.
Yep.
If I could just for
I
one
mean,
second.
all of these things, really.
So, Mr. Toft is actually right. In the workshop that you guys originally talked about,
We
that
did.
was your original impetus for putting City of Breezy Point in front of everything,
Mm-hmm.
was so that it was clear that it wasn't a part of the resort and that it was a part of the city.
Right.
Which, and so that's why this is set up this way. But now it seems like after you've looked at it, you're like,
Changing.
that's ugly.
We're changing on you.
Yep.
And that's fine. There's
Yeah.
no problem there. So now, though, what I'm hearing is you kind of want to back off that maybe and kind of return to what we had originally, which was just the park names instead of putting City of Breezy Point in
Because
front
we'll
of
have
all
the
park
city
names.
logo that says
Yeah.
City of Breezy
Will always
Point
be there,
on
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that
Yes.
consistent? Because I mean, I can easily go through and just pull City of Breezy Point out of all the front
Yeah.
of all the names if that's
Okay.
what everybody's comfortable with.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wait,
fish,
Yes.
yeah.
we might,
Okay, sure,
we might
yeah.
not, let's see.
So boat launch, okay, with the
Yep.
City of Breezy Point logo. Okay,
Yeah.
Park 5,
Fishing dock.
fishing dock. It does, the sign does say Channel Park Fishing Dock. Sorry.
For the boat launch, that photo's a little out of date. We actually have a new dock there.
Yeah, we know that we're gonna get new photos.
Okay.
Okay, just so Daniel knows that that one should for sure
Yeah,
be.
It's a placeholder right now.
I'm a little sad about that because that's a really good photo, but that's actually the reason I reused it because it's got a boat on it and it's a. Okay,
just have to stand there and
I'll
wait.
have to get it fixed.
Yeah, the fishing dock does say.
Good
Channel
point,
Park.
though.
So,
That is something, I'll just put it out, Daniel and I have been discussing of in the spring, spending an asserted effort on getting photos
yeah,
from everything.
yep. So the sign there, not saying that we can't change it, but the one that does say there with the city logo does say Channel Park Fishing Dock. That's what it was, the project was called.
I'm okay with leaving it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to add that Channel Park in
So
there.
Channel Park. It's a nice sign. I mean, I'd like for all of ours to kind of look, maybe look something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Park 6.
I have a suggestion.
This was the one that we've gone round and round on.
I would say take out city of, and then at the end, put Breezy Point Recreation Area and disc golf. Because disc golf is, for the time being at least, the prominent
Yeah,
thing.
I do agree with that.
Breezy Point Recreation Area. And it would still have, in disc golf, and it would still have the city logo, maybe.
But to just call it recreation area just doesn't seem like.
Right, otherwise, then you have to go down and have a bullet point to get to that, you know, to the disc golf course, like on the site or something.
What about
Or
this?
how it-
What about Breezy Point Disc Golf and Recreation Area?
That even makes more sense.
Since,
Insert that, but drop city out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because really, that is, like you say, it is the
That it was
main-
the
The
original.
main thing.
Breezy Point.
Madam Mayor, could we allow Travis to
Chair.
have a comment?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't see your hand, I'm sorry.
I would append the word course to the end of disc golf, because nowhere that you go is anything ever called city something disc golf, it's always disc golf course. Whether
Disc
it's
golf
private or
course.
public, They're known as courses,
Okay.
just to keep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't call a golf course golf.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
Deacon's Lodge Golf, it's Deacon's Lodge Golf Course.
Yeah,
But we have golf
Deacon's Lodge.
courses, because we have two. Uh-huh,
Could be courses.
yeah. That, because it sounds like just one and we have two.
so Breezy Point Disc Golf Courses and Recreation.
The recreation area, then you could just leave it Breezy Point Disc Golf Course and Recreation Area. Mm-hmm.
And then down below in the assessment, it says course 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay,
Okay, so so what you're thinking there is Breezy Point Disc Golf Course and Recreation Area?
Courses.
Courses or course?
No, course.
S's, with the S, I thought we said,
That's why I'm asking,
No, what,
because there's a
because
disagreement
there's
there.
2 courses there.
but they said that it's spelled out.
It's overarching of it, so.
But if
I'm not
we're,
gonna
if
stand on the hill
we're
for
not just
that
talking
one.
about for this document, we're talking about what we're gonna talk, how we're gonna put it on the website, how we're gonna put it, in other places.
I'd like to see it as just course.
Course, that's me too.
I think so.
And there's course 1 and 2.
Okay.
Just looking to see, I'm looking in the wrong packet.
You want to go through the names of the trails too?
Okay, while we're on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so next page is City Trails. Trail 1 is
Four
Seasons Trail.
Yep.
Trail 2,
Breezy Point City Hall Trail.
Yes.
or do we just say, like in the park was City Hall Park?
So
Do we
then I
just say
think-
City Hall Trail?
Yeah.
And that's it for naming.
Page 19, we have to do a fix too, there where it says city recreation area improvements.
Yeah, it will
Get there in a
domino all
second. We
the,
gotta-
Yeah, I'll have to go
He's
through the
gonna do that.
document and
He's got
manually
that
fix all the
written down.
names. So
Yeah.
whatever you guys are comfortable with setting for those, I'll peel through it.
yeah,
Okay.
you'll modify.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
I've got something else on page
So-
14.
are we back at that Park 1, I'm just gonna call it Park 1 page.
I have something for part 2.
Okay, yeah, anything on that page, I think.
The park currently includes a well-equipped playground, basketball court, 1/3 mile walking path, 2 pavilions and picnic tables, and a ball field. Stop. Then benches are placed throughout the area alongside the restroom. That sentence really,
Oh, alongside a restroom facility.
so I would say comma benches, and then leave out place along area alongside, and leave a restroom facility, 2 parking lots, flower garden, and ample tree coverage. Benches are placed throughout the area. The playground is covered with engineered wood fiber surface.
I would move restroom facility to the end of that and just say a restroom facility is available during the summer season or something like that.
Yeah, it's I think he meant along with a permanent restroom facility.
Yes,
That's-
yeah, I just think that doesn't need to be listed with the amenities. I mean, it should be on there that there's a bathroom, but it shouldn't be by flower gardens.
But where do you want to say benches are placed throughout the area? Where,
Couldn't it just say benches in the list of things? It
Picnic
doesn't-
tables,
I mean,
benches, and a ball field.
Yeah. And
Then
do we need to say there's 2 parking lots?
there's 2 parking lots, a flower garden, ample tree coverage, along with a permanent restroom facility.
anyway, it needs.
Something, yeah. Get the gist.
So you want to move the reference to the restroom away from the flowers? Sorry, I just,
Yeah.
so rejigger the sentence a little bit, kind of separate that down probably to the next sentence down and combine those.
And could benches be moved right into that list where you have pavilions with picnic tables, benches,
Benches.
a ball field?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Ball field, comma, benches.
Put it in the first sentence.
Yeah.
Park includes a well-equipped playground, basketball court, 3rd mile walking path, 2 pavilions, tables, ball field, and a restroom. That's where it belongs.
Benches in a restroom.
Yeah,
Okay. That will be modified somehow. How about anything else for that page? Otherwise, we're moving along.
Well, so,
I have something on 15.
wait,
Instead of construct a
I
bike
didn't-
rack, how about install?
Oh, you're on the proposed improvements for City Hall Park? Install a bike rack, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of construct, and then at the bottom, under the city beach, tree coverage is limited, period. Then parking is provided solely on the adjacent street, because that tree coverage is limited off the beach.
Coverage is limited, and parking is, I think you could just take off the beach off.
Yeah.
Take off the beach and start parking a new sentence. Parking is
Or
provided.
it could be a combined sentence there. Tree coverage is limited and parking is provided solely on the adjacent street.
I'm more toast, I'd take out the and.
Yeah.
We got a lot of English majors here, I think.
Okay. Anything else on that page for anybody? Okay, moving along to the next page where there's the picture of the boat launch at the top. Any changes there? Okay,
Wait, I did have something for page 15.
which one was
Those
that?
proposed improvements over from the other page, so we had talked about a pickleball court and community garden, and that's in there, but the pickleball court's not on there. And
But it's in future.
is it in the future? So
in the
then we'll
future.
make sure
Yeah.
that moves over?
Yeah, it's in the.
That would
Another-
move over.
So
from
that
the
will
bottom.
come over too, yeah.
I had that in the
Okay.
consolidated area of like things that had been talked about, but
Okay.
if we're gonna move
But
those
not
up,
there
then-
yet.
Yeah,
If that's future, then why are we talking about the aquatic center and swimming pool? That shouldn't be there then either, since that's future.
Well, we're moving it all.
They're moving it all over to this side.
all future stuff is gonna be within proposed, because it's not
Okay.
decided, it's not.
And that whole other thing was part of the addendum of what Widseth and the.
Actually, that might be a good question. So he's right. Right now, the community center is listed under proposed improvements here, but it has its own separate section under future planning. But I probably shouldn't move the entire future planning section of the community center under just the city
There's a
hall
current-
park. That might be a bit of an odd move. So maybe I should remove that line then,
Or add
if we want it to
pickleball.
be.
Or it could all be under future plan. That's the tricky thing with wanting to combine everything.
But this looks like it's already there, and they just want to, it says, it's under proposed improvements, it's, isn't there, so how can you improve it?
It is proposed.
Improvements of something that's already existing.
To me, the proposed improvements are things we're already either somewhat more further along in the discussion process
Yep.
than a future long-range
Right.
possibility. I hesitate to take out that future section completely because I think that is more long-range, where I think our proposed improvements, when you look at them, it's
So like smaller upgrades.
smaller upgrades sooner, more soon.
Would the pickleball go, it's already a park, and the ice rink would
So
go
the
in the park?
community center
the
would not
pickleball-
be a small improvement.
That's what I mean.
Correct, yeah, so
That's-
you're saying add
that-
pickleball and the,
Move it all to.
then the ice
But yeah,
rink.
I think you're right, Bill, take out that point, like you said, Dan, and
Under
put it into future.
proposed improvements.
Yeah. But put the pickleball, those other things that were there that are smaller in
That
here.
further consideration could, just that whole bullet can go back to future, back to the future.
Yep.
Future planning.
But those are small improvements that we can do in a.
So
not
an
a
ice
giant
skating rink
project.
is
Like, that's a
there.
whole different thing. That's-
We need to just add pickleball in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Was there any talk about using this current building as something more for the community rather than, leasing it out as a daycare center, like?
Well, that's
Looking
if
at a
there's
rec
even a new
center?
community, that's if there,
I wouldn't put
I
anything
wouldn't
in
go
there
in
until a
into that.
decision is made.
we don't know if there's going to be a new city hall or.
Right, but considering
I
if there
wouldn't-
is, under
I would say-
future,
I would say until the council makes a decision
Yeah.
on what they want to do, I would just wouldn't plan anything.
Hold off.
Anything for this building?
Well, that's part of future planning. We're
But that's
talking about a
domino
community
based
center
on
that's
a
not even here.
Council decision, a major council decision.
Just something to be considered for the future, that it's a bridge to the community center.
Add it back in later? Could we do like an amendment to this?
Yeah, this is not going to be in
You can amend
stone.
this document whenever you want to amend it.
Okay, so when
yeah.
council
If
makes
in a
some-
year from now, something tremendous has happened and you're like, oh my goodness, we need to get this in a master plan, you can
We add
always
it.
amend the master plan and council can adopt the amendment.
I just don't
Again,
think it's
these
time.
documents are kind of intended to be somewhat of living documents.
You
Yes.
can just wait till council makes some kind of decision.
I think until there's, yeah, I think we hold off. Okay. Anything else on this page that has the city beach picture on it? That's page 15.
So my only question is where you wanted or suggested pickleball being added into a proposed improvement for the City Hall Park. Do you also want to put the garden there? Because if we take out that last bullet point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so garden should also be a separate bullet point, but not the community center. So page 15, I'm looking
We'll have
at.
2 new bullet points of
Yes.
pickleball
And
and community
community
garden.
And taking
But
out
take the community piece out,
Center out of there and
Community center.
have it in the future.
move it to future planning. Okay.
So what I'm, just so you know what I'm thinking, what I'm probably gonna do there is I'll put in the bullet point, but then I'll make a reference to the actual details on the community garden being later in the plan, because
Yes.
that's its own big section with a
Yeah.
picture and
Exactly.
stuff, so.
Yep, that's a good
I wanna
idea.
redirect down to that rather than try to,
To add
Write it
all
twice,
that.
yeah.
There's so much there, yeah. Sounds good.
Yep,
Does the city
perfect.
do a new comprehensive plan? I mean, is it like 5 years or?
Generally, the general policy is kind of every 5 years, you at least take a look at it. The council's put money in the budget for 2024 to be looking at a zoning code, and that'll be part of that process will be to kind of start looking at least take a soft look at the comprehensive plan initially, make sure it's still where we want it to be,
Make
commencing the
modifications.
zoning code.
Okay. Are we okay to move on to page, 16? There's the picture of the dock again. Back at that one. I think we were good there. Okay, moving on to page 17 with the disc golf course pictures, recreation pictures. Is there any other changes there other than the name?
I do. The second sentence under property assessment.
Which one? The top one or the bottom?
A variety of year-round activities, including skiing, snowshoeing, sledding, running, walking, biking, and contains the Breezy Point Disc Golf Course 1 and 2. I would just say, new sentence, the Breezy Point Disc Golf Courses 1 and 2 are located here. It doesn't read right to me. To say the golf courses are contained there.
Breezy Point Disc Golf Courses and then are located here.
Created something, I just contained.
Well, that should be the first thing if our title of it is disc golf course and recreation area, the disc golf course should be listed first.
So swap the sentences.
And maybe instead of the area can support, maybe we say it supports.
Right. Take out can and say supports.
All right. Anything else for that page?
Well, it talks about the one portable toilet available, and we're going to make that 2. So I don't know if that should be under improved. Should some of those items come here under the
Where are we
proposed
making it to? I guess we're not there.
It's
Yeah,
on the council list of 22. Yeah,
We make just a point that says,
something about even portable toilets are available, or toilet with a parenthesis S. I don't know.
We have two, at
It's
least
not
just
gonna-
say two, you know?
I don't know if there will always be two.
Hopefully they can get one back there. I was told by one council member they couldn't, there's no way they can get it back there. I don't know
Right.
if that's accurate or not. For sure.
Portable
Mr.
toilet
Zeri might know more about
parentheses,
that than me.
F,
S, available.
then you're not
So
locked
if there's
into anything.
multiple, because
Yeah.
maybe there'd be, yeah.
And if they're
Is it only
going to
during
do.
summer months? Or are
Right,
we going to have
it
one
might
in
be
the?
more. Or if there's a
Right.
tournament someday, there will be more.
So disc golf, tee boxes with portable toilet, parenthesis S, so there can be multiple available.
Available and cut the rest out, okay. And then the parking spots are definitely not right here, right? How many
I-
parking spots are there in that parking lot, Joe?
50-ish
Okay,
trucks.
That's if you,
well, so that is right.
that's
Okay,
if
so-
you had lines and stuff. I mean,
Well, if you had small cars and you park very efficiently, more, the square footage is in that range. Actual is most likely less, 'cause people are generally not efficient.
why do we have them both, we don't want them to be parking at that smaller lot in the first place anymore, correct? Like that is,
Closed?
that is staff access,
So at that point, so that has never, well, kind of been discussed here and there. A determination has never actually been done, although that is on the list from the city council.
yeah.
So what.
Is that the intention?
What the actual future of that is going to be will be discussed at future meetings.
So that could be modified after that's decided.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And that is the address, is that the address of Breezy Point Disc Golf Course and Recreation Area, 7803 White Overlook Drive?
That's the new.
One of the
Yeah,
lots.
that's
The
the new
new
parking
lot.
lot. And then the older one, I believe, is the
That's the parking lot
31559.
address? I mean, to the,
The white overlook would become, should become the address
Is-
for that park.
Is it really necessary to put the number? Couldn't it just say off-street a parking lot is available at 7803 White Overlook Drive?
Would it help people Google that to find their way?
I don't know if they're,
well, that's something he's going to work on later.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing with Google and stuff and Google Maps, but maybe we should put just the address up by park number 6, because it actually has an address for that parking lot.
I think having it listed in with all this, that last sentence is okay.
Yeah, I do too.
So, anybody else have an opinion? Otherwise, moving on.
So just to
Or otherwise, we would maybe need to put addresses at every,
I know.
I don't want to,
Well, the other ones have street names, most of them, but
So
It's
just
included.
to clarify, or maybe you're still talking about it, I think we're talking about two things here, removing the sort of the street parking spaces counts that I have there, so that I can remove the 10 to 15 and the 40 to 45.
yeah.
That's easy to do. I could just say off-street parking is available at either of those lots. Would you prefer that I only have the one lot, I remove the 31559 Green Scene Drive?
I guess if
Or would
that's-
you like me to leave both in there, or?
Leave it both in there until it's determined what is going to be done with the two lots, which,
I thought the council said they were going to basically turn the old lot into like possibly a work area where they would
okay.
park vehicles and
Well,
that type of
then
thing.
I would just take that one off.
Yeah,
Let's take it
Yeah.
off, if that's the intention of our council.
Okay.
So, yeah, off-street parking spaces are available at 7803 White Overlook Drive.
Okay.
Okay. Can we move to the next page? Are we good here?
And that actually
Huh?
goes along with the way the wording for the parking is for the Four Seasons Trail.
Yeah,
So,
okay. So we've got the city trail.
Should we say a designated lot for the parking and not just a lot? That way people would know to look for a parking spot, a place with a sign.
I think that's a little semantics, I don't know.
I think it's fine.
I think it is. Just adds more words. So we're on trail page. Did anybody have anything there other than the name changes?
I thought maybe that additionally, on the last, very bottom, additionally, the trail serves as an amenity that greatly benefits both the city park and city hall. I just say the trail benefits both the city park and city hall. Instead of all that greatly and amenity and all that.
So the trail benefits both city park and city hall.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to go on to page, 19? Anybody have anything on page 19? We kind of talked about that whole future planning piece and moving some things. Okay, moving on, page 20.
Weren't we going to change that wording for the city recreation area improvements? We were talking about the disc golf there because on the top of the next page it talks about reordering holes, so shouldn't we put?
But there's
golf?
there's subsections under, there's more details about each.
Right, but but the name here at the bottom, city recreation area, we changed the name.
Yeah, he will make those
Yeah, he's
changes all
got
the way
those
through.
changes already.
So he's going to look for
Yeah.
those, so any name changes will be reflected all the way through the document.
And right above that, where staff should consider neighboring
Can you say where you are?
Page.
Projects to aid in design. How about instead of consider? Or
I don't know where you are.
We don't know where you are.
What point?
She's
What
at the bottom
page?
of page 19 in the packet here.
almost means like
Is it a
take into
bullet point?
consideration, we need it 'cause they've done
Oh,
it.
I found it. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, page 20.
Can I ask at the top, are the holes being renumbered or reordered?
Both.
Both.
One and the same.
The front need to
They're
be,
staying where they are, they're just moving, number one currently is here, it's being moved to here. But the whole
It's-
sequence is the same, you're just moving what the numbers are, it's like renaming them.
So saying reordering is the same as saying renumbering?
I would say renumbering.
Renumbering would be more, I think,
Right.
more accurate to what's actually being
Because
done. No,
from that-
The holes themselves are not being altered,
So it's
Right.
renumbering instead of reordering.
renumbering.
renumbering. Okay. All right, anything on page 20?
Should we just make some note that as per the city council's directive on 1, 2, the follow-up with changes for this area, so we know that we have something to fall back on for all the specifics, or are we going to put all those in here? Because some of them in here, but not all of them are in here, you know what I mean?
I think maybe once those things are decided on by city council,
That's why,
Do we update it then?
Well, it does, that last sentence, so I'm on page 20, under the top 3 bullets. It kind of says that. It says, specific improvements to this recreation area, implementation time frames, and associated costs go to the Breezy Point CIP,
Which is the
which
city
is the,
council.
right, city council.
For further information regarding specific improvements in this.
So I think that's a little bit saying that it's not our
gonna
decision
be
to make right now.
ongoing.
It's an ongoing conversation, right?
Yeah. I think that encompasses anything city council wants us to do in the future. Okay. Can we move on to 21?
Wasn't that city trail expansion? I thought they talked to the DNR and there's nothing to be done there.
That was the Chirella.
That's just for Torella, yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Oh, that middle paragraph
It
Their
says Torella.
paragraph, yeah.
We don't even need that in there, do we?
no, I don't
No, because we can't
think that
do
was
it. They
done,
can't.
was it?
Well, I thought Mr. Zierden talked about he got a call from the.
Yeah.
DNR.
We can't do anything with it.
Oh, that's,
So that paragraph be out? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Or that little,
it doesn't matter to me really, but I didn't think it was pertinent anymore.
for under future planning?
well, I thought we were still having a conversation and that you were looking into some.
Yeah, the only thing that I said was that we would look to see if the school, if it's possible as a school forest, but that wouldn't have anything to do with us here.
Right.
It would just be another avenue for possibly developing the trail system.
Yeah, in my notes, I thought there
But
was
it wouldn't be a
still
city
future
trail.
conversations to be had. Joe, is that not right?
I placed the call to Joel, he hasn't got back to me.
If I may intercede for just a moment here. So essentially, the reason it's so vague in here is because is kind of what you guys are catching on to is the future of it is sort of vague. There was some talk possibly about the city maybe being, well, we can't do stuff with it per se. Maybe we could lease it for like a natural trail or some things like that. There are a few small things that could maybe be done with it that are up in the air, hence why I kind of have the background in there, but I'm sort of like, we'll have to talk to the DNR further to see if it's really a viable thing or not. It's sort of a far off kind of project thing right now. Like you guys had mentioned, you wanted to keep it in there just as a background item, but if you're now thinking maybe you're a little more comfortable just pulling it out and focusing on more important things, that is also completely an option. It was originally an actual trail listed, and obviously because of what we found out, we couldn't leave it there, so it's more of a policy decision, whether or not you guys want to leave it in there or just kind of
Sandy,
short
what
it
were
down
you
to a
gonna
sentence.
say?
I just feel like we take it out because we don't own it, right? And if we can,
not-
if something that has come in, if we can do something with the DNR or whatever.
Then we can
it's
add
gonna
it
be so
in.
Far down the road.
And it's going to be still DNR's,
Right. So,
That's
not
gonna be the
our
case no matter what.
property.
Right. So I don't think it really even belongs in there anymore.
I would agree with that, Sandy.
just that first paragraph should stay there.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to, I don't know the page numbers anymore.
21, I believe, if we're just going by
21, thank you.
the packet.
So changing that new city projects to potential future, something. That's already a
I'll
change that will
wordsmith
happen.
kind of the whole
Yeah.
layout of that section so
Yep.
that it's a little cleaner.
Was there anything else on that?
If you go down to city natural play area, it's actually Eagle View Elementary School, not play school.
So 4 words. Yep.
Should it say should work to identify, or may, or could, or should consider, something like that? And because these are potential, when you put should in there, doesn't it make it sound like we're directed to do that?
No, because it's still within, I guess, potential. I don't know.
What, are we in page 21 still?
Under city natural play area.
In the dog park where it says this should work to identify. It makes it sound like it's something we need to do right now. Start doing that, and that could be a future thing.
Well, it's all future, so
Well, we're working to identify the even space that we
could.
could do it at.
Would that be fine? Mm-hmm. The city could explore, the city could work,
Or may, or just,
something. Got that, Daniel? Okay. Anything else on this page?
Well, should we call it City Hall Natural Play Area? Since the other one, it's going to be in the City Hall Park.
We had also talked about that Breezy Point Drive Park.
Adding
So a
elements?
site hasn't been
Okay, so
designated
could
for
be
it yet,
Either one,
Yeah,
okay.
or somewhere
be
else.
incorporated more than one place. Yeah.
Right.
Generic, because then it leaves it open to,
Adding elements anywhere,
Okay.
maybe even at the disc golf, but, you know. Anything else on this page?
Would we call it City Hall Community Garden instead of City of Breezy Point Community Garden if we're in keeping with the rest of it?
Or just Breezy Point Community Garden
Or that?
with the city logo?
be City Hall.
The one thing about keeping Breezy Point and all these names is it does advertise and promote our city, I guess, but
That's what,
I understand what you guys are all talking about, too, the names.
I think if we have the city logo on there, that makes it more official. You know, the resort would have their logoing if it was theirs.
So is it going to be City Hall Community Garden?
I like Breezy Point Community Garden myself.
I do
I
too.
do too.
I kind of like City Hall in case another one comes up and it's on Birchwood or something. We have Birchwood Community Garden.
Yeah. I would hope that we would expand this and fill it before we would, I don't know.
Boy, this is great dreaming, I love it. I hope we have more than one.
It's the fun part.
Any other discussion or opinions?
Under dog park, that it should not say easily maintenance. There's something wrong there, the typo there.
Easily maintained? Throughout all seasons.
Do we want to even, is it necessary to have all that open, looking at certain places? Because there could be other places available, it just kind of limits everything and a lot of words.
Well,
Just keep it open to,
That was
Can
kind
we
of our
just list them all under
brainstorming
one point with a comma in between?
with possible locations at,
Yeah, open available area adjacent to this, comma, this.
I'm just afraid it's going to upset a bunch of people if we.
right.
when don't really
We
know
wouldn't even
where-
have preliminary locations. We could
We
just
don't
leave it
have them for
generic.
any of the other
Yeah,
future
so we could
things,
just-
It's just
so.
for us to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
to remember.
I could just remove all the preliminary
yeah,
locations.
let's do that.
Just delete
We
them.
can have our list, but
Yeah, I can just delete those 3 bullet points and then the last sentence.
Okay.
Okay.
And last but not least, page 22.
Yeah, and this, I mean, is just completely, future.
Way future.
I don't think we need to dig into little things, nitpicking on this.
I think it's good that it gives the history
Yeah,
of when it's been brought up before. But beyond that,
Okay. And then we have all the appendices. I mean,
Daniel, can they be, this recreational facility, this Appendix A, as you call it here,
a map.
could that have a date on it? Because it makes it look like we got a heck of a lot of tax forfeited land. Maybe it's going to be replaced with a more current.
Yeah, I mean, the intention was always to probably redo this map and
Is that like a
figure out eventually.
placeholder?
This is just the most current map we have right now.
Thanks.
I mean, I could put a date on it, if you want. I could remove it, I suppose, if you want to. It's just, that's the most current one we had in the
Yeah,
previous master
that's what we
plan
have to
map.
use.
The intention, of course, was always to update the maps. Now we're talking about possibly doing that map stuff a little differently based upon kind of the council directions or.
If it, I guess it
We'll
wouldn't
comment
hurt
on
to just put a date on it, just so people know.
What year is this map from?
This is from the last master plan, so it would have been like 2011.
Yeah, so maybe,
2011.
Yeah.
so maybe just put a date on it so people know.
Didn't you say that this doesn't have, like, really all of the forfeited lots, or?
So the forfeited lots obviously change over time. This
Yeah.
actually has way more forfeited lots than are actually currently available.
Okay.
Like, because we've brought it up like in a previous meeting and like, obviously none of those lots are currently available. Truth be told, if we do redo a map like this, I would strongly recommend not including tax forfeited lots because it's up to the county to maintain those and they change every year. There's no way for me to, for me to do that, we would probably need to hire a contractor who would be year over year constantly updating our maps. And that's, I think, probably more than we need.
Could it be a list thing that maybe we refer to?
Yeah, like a list thing, maybe we could do, like if I wanted to do an appendix A.5 or something, and I
Since
just
that's ever
grab the
changing.
list off of the thing once a year and throw it into the document, something like that could be done.
Yeah.
As part of our timeline, that
Yeah,
could
or as
just
a
be.
part of the timeline. Actually, in the timeline, I do have a tax forfeit review set for you guys, because you had talked about wanting to review those on a yearly basis. So
Yep.
you would see
A list.
underneath the directions given to staff by this, you will see that list every year now. Just because in, I don't know, it was like April, May or whatever, you
Yep.
said you wanted to see it, so we're gonna bring it to you. In which case, there wouldn't need to be tax forfeit lots listed out like this anyways, because you're gonna see them every year, so. But I could put a date on this easily enough, I'd just throw it into a PDF editor and put
Perfect.
2011 on it.
And then can we note, like, with an asterisk that updates
Oh, yeah.
to be done,
Yeah, I could,
the map, because that's, you said that was going to be a big piece
It
of.
will be a,
yeah, I can move this around or something and put maybe some text down here or something. I'll figure it out.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I
Okay.
just ask a quick question? Is there really a snowmobile trail that goes through the cemetery?
There is, we don't maintain it. So the snowmobile, that trail that goes through the city, at least I don't believe we maintain it. Joe can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's a part of a snowmobile club that does some things on it and they groom it and take care of it themselves. I know it is a part of the DNR sort of master super ultra mega trail system thing that goes throughout the entire state. I don't know much more about it besides that.
Okay. Anything else for next appendices? These were kind of, this is from before. Do we need an assessment?
On page 25, we have Eagle View listed. We had talked about taking that off. It's in the chart.
Oh, yes, I see it now.
Yep, I see, yep. And are we gonna have time to complete this
This is more of a, so the Appendix B here is something that was included in, again, the old master
Original
plan
one.
back in 2011. The reason it's kind of included is, at least from my thoughts, was that it's not really so much relevant or that we need to really follow it anymore, but it helped guide some of the original assessments and some of the ideas that were in the 2011 plan that have kind of carried over from the plan. So I thought maybe it might be helpful for some people, historically speaking, if they could just go to Appendix B in the document and they can see, oh, it's taken, you know, I added language saying originally taken from the 2011 master plan, so that they know, hey, this is from the old one. And if they're curious about why those things were examined that way, it's right there and they can look at it. I suppose just as easily I could remove it, and if people have questions, we could just redirect them to the old plan. It's not like the old plan's going anywhere. It'll still be around.
Right, that will still
It's
be a
public document.
published
Yeah,
historical.
it's still gonna be
or-
here. That's sort of why Appendix B is in there, but it's up to you guys if you guys wanna change it or do anything with it.
I say if it's not something we're currently using, let's get it out.
I would think that in the maintenance reports, he would be telling us when things are in need.
Yeah, they're yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So take out that criteria committee assessment piece, okay?
The whole thing is going, both pages?
Yep.
I thought it was kind of nice because it shows that this body has a history.
But the history lives in that previous document too.
Right. But it's not unusual in the comp plans to have an appendix that was from a previous one, even the city ones.
But if it's 13 years old,
Irrelevant to current
really,
plan.
Yeah, I'd say if you want it in, why not leave it in? I mean, if people want to see that, that's there.
It
the
just
first
shows that-
page and not the second.
It just shows there was some due diligence done, and we can kind of see, if you want to go back and compare and see the condition of these places.
Okay.
I think
Well,
the
we
first
need to
page
take
and not
Eagle
the
View off, even though that was part of the original one, so then it's technically not the original.
That's why I would just take the first
It's
page and
outdated.
keep that with all the listings under each area, and then get rid of that goofy chart that no one's going to figure out how to read anyway.
Then we're modifying, I mean,
If you're taking out the chart, you don't need the other page, so what?
yeah,
It's pretty specific on the chart.
we're getting stuck, guys. We gotta keep moving along here.
Just leave it in.
Okay. All right, next appendix was the community garden pieces that we've collected over.
Yeah, I don't know that we have to go over anything about it. I think it was just to
Yeah.
show you an example. It's basically.
Some of the work that we've done.
Cross Lakes,
Right.
how they run theirs, and it's.
Sandy, is there any way in your beginning statements to state that the intent is for it to be organic? Because the people agree to that, but then back here, the things that are prohibited, you don't list pesticides and synthetic fertilizer.
Well, that, I think if we get the garden,
Right.
we can adjust all of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was just to give the council, when I first presented. second time I
provisional.
presented, what Cross Lake has done and what you could
Right.
expect sort of the packet to look like and how it would be kind of run and everything.
So this isn't in stone yet. This is the brainstorming provisional ideas.
Yeah, and I will say I had included it much for that same reason.
Right.
Just as kind of like a
A
just because
reference.
I'm quoting things essentially in the upper part of the document where I talk about the community garden, so I kind of like to have it in the appendices that it's a.
Yep, and the
like,
same with
that's where I
the,
got it from.
same with the
Yeah.
Widseth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also things like incorporating pollinator garden in there, because there's a lot of grants for pollinator gardens. So if we have
At that point.
pollinator garden around the outside edge, I found out that maybe we could even get more funding for it. And we can also ask each person to put some pollinator plants in their plot, and often do, because it brings them in and then you get more production out of
Produce.
your, yeah. So, and then also we could even add in like that we're going to be donating the access to the local food shelf and all those kind of things. So that's all
in
to
the
come.
future, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are we okay to move on from the master plan? Actually, we killed two birds with one stone. 'Cause
Wahoo.
8B was the golf course naming.
Yep.
Well, shoot, that was my attachment, sorry.
Before we move on real
Yeah.
quick, I just want to circle back to this item here because there's still a couple other small things. So my recommendation here was to kind of have you guys approve that final draft to present to the public for comment. I think there's too many changes to do that now.
Yep.
So I'll need to edit this throughout this month and bring this back to you guys next month. So
February.
you won't see it again until February.
Okay.
That does, of course, mean
Well,
the open house is pushed back
That's
however
fine.
far.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. We can make that happen.
Even if we
If
did
it's
a
just small
workshop,
editing-
we couldn't do amendment of adoption.
Well,
Have
the
it worked
original
out.
plan was to
Motion
do
to
the
adopt.
open house in February 1st
yeah.
and then immediately bring it to you guys for final approval in February, assuming you were okay with what I had and the comments that were given at the open house. But
Okay.
now it sounds like there's kind
Push
of.
back 1 month.
There's quite a bit changing here now, so.
Well, it's still just editing, really. I mean, content hasn't changed drastically. Couldn't you send it out to us and we all give feedback?
Then we
via
have to.
email?
I think we have to make a
vote
motion
on
to
it.
approve it, and we can only do that in an official committee meeting.
Yes, and
Correct.
my original intention was to have you to vote
Do
to
it
approve
today.
the final draft today, and then we do the open house in February, and then I would bring it back and say, this is your final document, and then you guys would approve that in February.
So our next
But now that
official
we're making
meeting-
all these changes, I think it's better, we don't do the open house yet. Let me bring it back in February. That also gives me some time too, if I'm struggling with any of these updates for some specific reason, because there are some pretty substantial formatting changes and things that are shifting around here. If I have any confusion or struggles with them, I can bring it back to you in February and say, hey, maybe this didn't work out. I'm not sure what you guys want to do, guidance, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah. So it does push it out back kind of another month again, as long as everybody's okay with
Yeah.
that. I have no issues
have
with
to do.
doing that. I'll just keep plugging away at it, so.
Okay,
As long as everybody's okay with that, then, yeah, I think we're good to go.
okay. Moving on to 8B, I had made a draft, or I don't know if you guys want to introduce it, but I'm just looking for feedback of what could possibly look like for when some of the logistical pieces for the form was obviously the name ideas. But then under, some people want to be anonymous, some don't, like trying to include all options. So that's where I pulled in the small prizes available if, and then you fill in that remaining part. My questions then were, where should completed forms go? Be dropped off here? Could they be emailed? Like, because this is going to go on community backpack for the district. So if they downloaded it, could they email it? Who does it need to go to? I didn't want to assume anybody. Okay, so I'll put your
Yeah, you can
email
just
address
send
in
it.
there.
You can just put down mine, the DEICK one, that I'll process it.
Okay. And then, when is the turn-in? So we, obviously, it would probably be later than February 7th, but that was another detail that,
Megan,
where would you guys like to see?
what age, is this age limited?
We did not leave it age limited.
So it could be a high school senior, could it be a citizen?
Well, it says kids.
For the children, anybody in the schools, in elementary, middle, or high school, right?
I guess if they were homeschooled, the community would still have access to that. I mean, it's,
If they're in the backpack. Thing. I thought the logo there with the trees and the basket, I really like that.
I just
Think
tried
we-
to add some visual, but I can change
No, I think
any of
that
it.
looks
It
really
was
good. I mean,
very.
I'd like to use that maybe on the kiosk.
Okay, anybody have, I did put, I think about kids, so the child's name, but then the guardians' names. And then the contact information for the family. I would never want a child's, if they wanted to be in the prize, I would never want child's information listed. So that's why I did put family, or I thought maybe I also put guardian there. That's semantics, but not everybody that who they live with is their family. I'm trying-
Family/guardian?
Yeah. So maybe just if I do guardian names, just say guardian contact information. I know it's,
And, you being in the school, you know what, kind of where the rules fall into place on this. I know this is kind of sensitive sometimes
Yeah.
for teachers, so
Yeah.
whatever you decide, I know.
whatever's all more inclusive of all is kind of what I'm assuming. Okay. Does anybody want to see anything added?
Do you think you would give them how many weeks, like after this goes
I
out?
don't know. I was thinking a month-ish.
Yeah, that's what I was,
I don't know. So maybe move that date
to
as we
March
get,
1st or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then we'd have them to look at our March meeting.
we would have them to look at for March.
That sounds good.
Is this something too that we could have available copies here if anybody wanted to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Once you get it done, yeah, we can print them out on the front desk or
Yeah,
whatever.
just
and
leave
if
'em out.
anybody comes in, I can answer questions. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Megan, doesn't our forms usually say parent or guardian
I think they do.
instead of just guardian? I think I would put that in there.
Parent or guardian.
Parent or, and then just a slash, parent
Yep,
slash guardian.
Yep. Thank
Because
you.
that's going to follow the format of other things we send home.
March.
Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I will make those minor little changes and share that with you again, Daniel.
Yeah, that'd be
That works.
perfect. Obviously, we're still a little far out on it just because other things going on and, stuff's happened. Yeah, you can just send it over to me. We'll take care of it. I will say we do have to, once we get a little bit closer, we have to kind of whack out a little bit more about what exactly small prizes is and how that means and what exactly we're doing. But I don't see at this point, as long as everybody understands that eventually we'll have to do that, I think we'll be good.
Daniel, do you have Breezy Bears left?
I don't, a breezy what?
I think we had maybe one.
Oh, is that one of the cute little white bears? Yeah, we maybe have like one of them.
I would have to ask Deb, but last I saw, I think there's maybe like one hanging around.
Because they used to be stacked up out there.
So
Yeah,
Gail had
over time,
mentioned that
they've
Play It
kind of-
Again,
Play It Again is offered a $50 gift
just to
certificate.
donate.
So if that is okay with the
Oh,
city.
we don't take
and
any,
every-
anyone can, if there's anyone that
They
wants
just
to
have to be
donate.
acknowledged, maybe?
Yeah, we would have
City
to,
council.
they would, just like any other donation would be accepted, but yeah, no problem.
So the timing on that, so she would send this out when? In a week?
Yeah, is there any limit on when it could just be posted and published?
No.
So yeah, I guess I could make the edits and have it ready to go next week, email it to you and just get it posted on the website.
If we,
Goes through the backpack.
the
Yeah,
Nancy,
I have access to the website.
could we put it in the Echo too? Because Nancy would do a little blurb on it.
Ah, that would be great.
I will need
How do
more than a
you-
week if it's got to go in the Echo with Nancy. I'm going to need to talk to her first.
I think it comes down to is when do you?
I'd like to have it at our March meeting.
Yeah, so if we get it out by the end of January,
If the goal is March, then if it's okay with the committee, then just kind of I would say let Assistant City Administrator kind of do what he needs to do and we'll get it out
Okay.
in a very timely to be able to get it to you in March.
so February 1st to go out at the latest, so they can get it back by March 1st?
Yeah, so that the due date.
February is a 5 Thursday month. So from that perspective, you'll meet on February 8th. So your meeting in March isn't until March 14th. So there's plenty of time to let Daniel do any drafting, get it out. The other thing is you don't want to give people too much time because then they also
Right.
forget about it.
Yeah,
So what due date should I put?
now let's just make a plan.
If we want to have it back by your meeting in March, which is March 14th, from
Yeah,
what Administrator
backdate
Chancellor
that.
just said, right?
Say probably Friday the 1st.
Yeah, Friday the 1st of March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
so you have 2 weeks to,
Yeah, Friday the 1st of March could work, and then if I were to,
Go out on March 8th. Friday,
March 8th, okay. If we receive them all back by March 1st, then, sorry, I'm just backdating quickly.
Yeah.
Then we want to give them a full month, then that means we have to have this finalized and sent out by probably February 1st-ish, which I think is doable at this
can
point
do.
because we're still several weeks away. That gives me time to write up a press release, send it out to Nancy and give them a call, and probably shouldn't use her first name like that, Ms. Voigt, and and send it out to them, but also to get in touch with Mr. Thomas Fracky, who's our actual, the guy who sits there,
Yeah.
reporter. Make sure he knows about it and that stuff and get it on Facebook and all that junk. So I think that should be fine if you want to
yeah,
finalize it.
I will just make those minor changes tonight and email
Okay.
it to you.
Okay, sounds good.
So, okay. Last directional signing, 8C.
Jillian, no.
Joe, I think that's you.
Joe?
Questions? That's the proof, is the best interpretation I could get of what you guys are looking for.
I like all the
I like
pictures.
those, I know.
They all are very clear of what the activity is.
Cute little guys.
Yeah, I think
Are
it
we
looks
going to have the logo on top or not?
That's the question.
That was the question, okay.
Do you know, language, that stuff needs to be figured out.
Now with the name, do we put the name at the top and then the logo?
Yeah, that's the other question. So we want to have the disc, you know,
Oh, that's a lot of
disc
words.
golf course
stuff on
and
one
rec
side.
area. So that's the big question. But I think we do. Because that's vague right there. I mean, as far as where this
To not
is.
throw too much of a wrench into this, I know once we get into, as they said, when we get into some of the council's directives, that includes signage. And one of the things I know Joe and I had we have had a brief preliminary discussion of is, you know, when we talk about the old parking lot, the new parking lot, you know, what does it move about kiosks? What does that whole signage look like? Because one thing we're going to talk about is whatever we do at the recreation area, kind of setting the standard for the rest of the parks system, is, you know, do you have kind of a kiosk that has all the different information in it where this is one of them? So then, you know, the logo doesn't necessarily need to be on it, or maybe doesn't even necessarily say City of Breezy Point, because the
Well, I thought these
kiosk
were on
or
the
the thing where
street.
it's mounted to.
I think this
Aren't
says
these
is
City
the
of Breezy
street
Point on it.
signs,
The
the
highway.
directions?
Oh, yeah, these are street, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this is street signs.
then-
We're not even at that other point.
So
But
then
yeah,
do
we
they-
could use this for
Then
that
do we
though,
even
too. You're
need,
right.
because if you're going to a campground, it just has the tent.
Yeah, then if
It doesn't
again,
have the
if we're
name
talking
on
again
it,
street-
it's just
If we're talking
a,
again street signs, I would probably say my
Less
personal
words.
recommendation is less is more, and avoid
Keep it
the
visual.
logo.
yes.
Avoid the logo.
Will there be arrows like under this?
Yeah,
Yep.
separate, like on the sign.
The criteria to get it decided is, street sign production gets busy in spring. These are custom signs, like if we don't have a decision, say by February or March, it would probably be June or July before we see them, so.
I think
If
it's
we
okay
get
not to
them
have the
ordered sooner,
logo,
we'd
but
get 'em
just have
quicker.
the disc golf course and rec area. Maybe cut it to rec area for this sign.
Name it.
This sign need to have words.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
To me, it's
You have a
just,
sign by the beach, you could have, you know, somebody swimming or, you know, it kind of tells people right off.
and then like somebody mentioned that the kiosk itself would have the logo and the name of the whole park area. But to me, this is to get someone to the space, and I don't think the words are necessary.
I like these, Joe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other question
the
is
pictures could be
dealing with
bigger.
the county,
Mm-hmm.
so the installation and jazz like that, but
Could instead of the words, those pictures maybe be up and then an arrow to the left or
Yep.
wherever it's coming
replace
from
the arrow above it,
or below it.
Arrow at the bottom? No, I think the arrow can be on it.
On this.
you can do, that's a custom sign. If you want the arrow on it, you can do it that way. If you want it on the bottom, you can do it that way. I could also ask the sign company, what's the most common way?
Yeah, that's a good
This
idea.
would be done, let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Because that's what I asked them, these are the activities. I want the stick pictograph guys that kind of best represent them, and this is what
good.
they came up with.
Look good.
So yeah, no words and just add an arrow somehow for direction.
Do you want a motion on that tonight? So you can get them ordered, or?
If you're ready for it, yeah, a motion would be appropriate.
Just one thing,
Well-
there's nothing about skiing on there.
Yeah, we had only
We
given
don't-
the four.
Yeah, and we weren't talking about skiing at the golf course because it's so
So
steep.
steep.
The skiing would be the winter.
Skiing in here, I think.
I think it's only on
I
the
think
winter,
we took
on
it
the
off
Four Seasons Trail.
Because we weren't going to groom it either for
Yeah.
track.
Yeah,
And
maintained.
you, typically, if you see the skier sign, it's a groomed trail system, not
It's absolutely every time there's a skier on the sign.
And so,
So you don't expect skiing in there, is what you're saying?
correct.
People
someone wants to
could,
attempt
but
it,
it was,
they can,
it's going to
but-
be their own, yeah, it's going to be, I tried it the other
To your
day.
own,
So I
On the ice,
actually,
it's bad.
I do have skiing in the recreation area right now in the master
maybe
plan.
take that out.
I
You
would
want me to
take
take it
that
out?
out.
Taking it out, okay.
Not that it's not allowed.
It's not, that we will not
We're not gonna
allow it,
promote
but we're
that.
not going to track it and groom it.
Relates to the signs, I talked about putting on the agenda again, discussing the directional signs from the highway. You know, we talked about the 4 different routes. The Rainier route is 3 turns versus 4 for the other routes, plus there's 6 less residential houses on that route.
Joseph.
I just think it's more direct, I think it's shorter. I think that would be the route we should
That we
go
should
with, and it's
sign.
one less sign we need also.
Is it all paved that way too?
No. Rainier is gravel
Yeah, that's
and across is ski chalet.
Well, the golf course is on a gravel road too. White overlooks gravel. I don't see why that makes a difference.
Do you have a preference for the route in? What roads like?
You had given us the 4 options at our last meeting, so,
Yeah.
My
Or 5,
recollection
We
of our
chose
discussion
what we
is
thought
Winter
was the best.
Trail. Everyone seemed in agreement, Winter Trail, or majority, I should say, because in a sense, we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone because we're avoiding extra signage, or we're gaining signage to the Winter Trail system parking lot. By directing them that way, we would pass right by the Winter Trail parking lot. That's the, as far as
But it could
recommendation.
be.
Why do we need to go by the Winter Trail Park? I mean, for the 4 season trail? Is that what the one you're referring to?
I think the discussion was, then we don't need separate.
arrows, additional arrows
Yes,
and,
down the road if that was so desired. I don't have a preference, I mean, I don't care.
I had thought of the least number of houses. That was my initial
Yeah.
concern, least.
Yeah.
to
Less
start,
houses on the
so.
Rainier
And
route.
6 is, I mean, that's
Families.
significant, yeah.
And I'm fine with.
So I'm fine with that.
So,
So direction from Bushman and Rainier?
It's County Road,
County Road,
South County Road, what, 4 to Rainier, and then it's a left
Uh,
on.
11,
what,
11
excuse
to,
me.
yeah.
And then it's a left on, I'm not sure what that road is, and then you hit White
Shady.
Overlook, Shady
Yep.
Trail, and you hit a
No,
right.
I understand that route, but if I recall our last meeting, we wanted to go from Bushman and then County Road 11. Have the
Yeah,
big
have the
signs
2.
at those 2 areas
Mm-hmm.
to direct them to Winter. So this
Change.
could actually end up creating more signs if we maintain going from Bushman, because we'll take the sign from 11
Yeah.
and Ranchette, move it down to Rainier, and then most of the signs going down Winter will stay, and then we'll be adding signs to Rainier. If that's kind of.
Do we want the 2 entrances still, or do we just have the 1 entrance and then the address? That was the kind, we've gone round and round on this. I prefer the least number of houses and just having 1 path, and people could get there a million different ways if they,
GPS.
If they know the area.
or they,
I say you
plug
stay
it
on the
in.
main drags, you know.
The big,
Ranchette,
big 11,
or 11, and, till
and
Winter
Bushman and
Trail or whatever.
Ranchette, yeah. Bushman and Ranchette, where most people are going to see it, because that's how some people have, oh, I saw there was a sign and I didn't even know there was a disc golf course there.
But that's like the sign now, that's out there, that's on a non-major thoroughfare. I think it's an Autumn, or what is that, Autumn or Sunny, whatever that is. So, I mean, that is not at a main thoroughfare.
I don't even know if
You know,
I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, it's right, as you're heading.
Down the road.
It's right down the road.
Oh, that one on 11.
on 11.
Right.
It's on 11, yeah.
Right.
So a lot of people have found that we have one, and that's how I found we even had a disc golf course, is seeing that
I think
sign.
though, most,
But
I
we're
mean,
talking
we
about-
know Bushman and Ranchette are major roads for our community members, but is that how other people travel and are?
But we're talking about 11 over by Billy's.
Correct.
Right, okay, yeah.
Oh,
Not
okay.
this 11.
Okay,
So I
sorry.
guess the discussion is, do you want to go down Rainier, do you want to maintain the current, the original thought is Bushman 11
Yeah.
to Winter Trail, or, just
it to
have one
Rainier.
axis or two axes, because that kind of changes the
many
dynamics of number of
signs?
signs and that sort
Cost.
of thing. That'd be the first question to answer.
Zero traffic.
Like the Bushman 11 and then the Ranchette and 11 seem to be like
It's the most
The two
cost
most-
efficient. I mean, you're,
busy
yeah.
and
you
main
catch the
road,
most traffic
and they'll get
for
there
the
from
least
there.
signs.
They can get there from there.
And
What happens after those, I,
depending if
Don't
you're coming
care.
from north or south,
as
too.
long as there's one there and there, the two main roads, then I don't.
So what are you guys
whatever.
saying? Can you reiterate? The two option, the 11,
Well, I'm for the Rainier route off 11, just right off 11. That was like a sign there, they can go right down Rainier, they take a left, it's about half mile, three-quarters of a mile, they take a right and they're there.
yeah, do
That
we
means
need
we
to
have
go
less
up to
traffic.
Bushman and,
Well, Bush was busy enough as is Ranchette, in my opinion. Why do we want to add more traffic to those two roads?
You want more people to see the sign, that's the idea, is it just,
Well, they see the sign now. It's not on, it's right on the side of the road, just like you said. That's how you knew it was there.
but then.
They're going to see
It
it.
would just move down the road, that's all.
The only reason I'm bringing this up is that there's 6 less residential houses on the route. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
yep,
I don't really care other than that.
2 ways in seems sensible. People coming from.
From either direction.
From Cross Lake, or whether you're coming up.
Right,
Well, if they're coming in from Cross Lake, you can
They'll
just
see
come
Rainier.
down 4, right? And then go on up 11, and there's the sign to Rainier and straight in. They don't need to be going back there and all that.
From Cross Lake, a lot of people, if you see Bushman.
Would go on
has a lot
Bushman.
of through people, a lot of through traffic going
Yeah.
toward.
oh, that's,
I think so,
is
too.
a,
That's a good entrance.
Well, if they know the route, then they'll get off on Bushman, they'll get off on Greenstein and take on Blue Ridge Road there, and they'll take that up
I get lost
to White
every
Overlook.
time I try to find it.
all right, so we need to,
I'll make a motion, we go to the Rainier route.
off of 11?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Toft, does that also include approval of the signs too?
Yes, yes, I thought they were really good work.
Can you point out and trace with your, is that the route you're talking? Only that route with signage?
No, because that one's going up Ranchette.
Yeah, I don't know which route it is, so
Yeah.
It goes all the way down to
Shady,
Shady, and you go here, and it's just.
right there.
And so you don't have any plan to have any other sign up by Bushman at all to indicate that there is a way to get there from there?
It's like what it is
Well,
now.
there isn't now, but, I suppose we could put one there.
Well, to me, that was always where it should have been, even for the other, it was up on Bushman. I never understood why it was routed through all these little itty bitty streets when there was a more direct way.
I don't know what the logic was, other than that those roads are so busy as it is. I don't know.
Hey, they're just gonna get busy if they improve Bushman, so what,
But not everybody, yeah. Bushman's a common area for you and all those neighborhoods around there. I don't ever use it.
And Cross Lake,
Yeah.
and people who are coming off the highway,
but Bushman on 11, that is, everyone
Major
goes that
intersection.
route.
yeah.
And then Bushman and Ranchette, or 11 and Ranchette on the other side. I think that just, those two things make the most sense.
Okay, we have
To
a
start
motion though
from?
on the table.
I agree
We have
with
to, we need to vote on it. Correct? Or is there more discussion?
I have one question. If we make that as the major route coming in from the south, can we still sign the Bushman route from the north?
Why not?
And what about anything at Billy's?
There wouldn't be
There wouldn't
anything
be.
there, because you would wait another till
yeah.
Rainier.
But that's what we were talking about, because then you see, oh, there's the Four Seasons Trail sign for that parking lot, which you don't even know exists until you get up on Ranchette and go by that little tiny sign. So that helps us to promote that in as well.
I think the Ranchette and Bushman are pretty main It'd become the main collector streets. Through streets,
Okay.
whatever.
So we have a motion on the table. Do we have any further discussion? Okay.
I'll just say one thing.
Yeah,
Can we
Sandy.
add signs later? I mean, like, we
Good.
could try the Ranchette, or the, excuse me,
Rainier.
the Rainier, and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Good.
And,
Yeah, this isn't the,
yeah.
Maybe
And
start
then
with
If
that?
we see down the road that people are confused, if we need to add another sign, we'll get another sign. Because you're on the main drag of coming into Breezy, so whatever way you come, east or west, right?
true. All right, any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion on the table
Yes.
and a second. So all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And we're approving the sign too. And so there's just going to be one main sign, or are there two now? I'm still confused.
We'll need one.
There will be one on Rainier. There will be one
With
to
an
take a
arrow.
left on Shady, and another one to take a right to get there.
Now, is it a double sign? So depending on
Double-sided.
which direction you're coming from.
The road, right?
So it'd actually
It
be
would
two
be-
on 11.
My thought would be, it'd be similar to the existing signs we have where each oncoming traffic gets their own sign appropriate 250, 300 feet before the road. It's a little different this time. Those signs I put up, the county won't allow me to. I can't guarantee they'll allow these. I don't know why they wouldn't, but, you know, we have to ask, so. That's what I will ask them, is to have two of the larger signs on 11 directing traffic down Rainier, and then from Rainier on, that's a simpler process, that's ours.
Are you guys imagining, for clarification, the larger one out on the highway? And then smaller versions of it, or just arrows the rest of the way in?
Smaller versions of
Smaller
it.
version, okay.
With
I just-
arrows too.
With yeah. Okay,
And that was my understanding.
Yep.
The smaller size on the city
Yeah.
streets.
yep, perfect.
Till we
I
have
just want to
the-
make sure everything,
Yeah.
Yep.
okay? We ready to move on to staff reports? Was there anything?
Like, Madam Chair, just got three very quick things, just very informational. One, coming from out of the council meeting on last Tuesday, January 2nd. One of the actions that the council took is that they no longer have liaisons. So the council,
We
the
noticed.
committee no longer has an appointed council member. What they decided was, obviously, there's meetings are videotaped, and then council members are free to attend meetings as they choose. The one thing they just talked about is, you know, hopefully letting me know if when they're going to attend, to ensure that we avoid quorums. But so there's that very quickly, and then the two things we've just been keeping people apprised of. The 2 upcoming weeks, there is a city council workshop each of the next 2 weeks. So one on Tuesday, January 16th at 5 o'clock. That is to receive the formal report on the organizational assessment that was conducted last fall. And then on January 23rd at 5 p.m., that's the workshop, we're calling it workshop/open house, for the City Hall design. So at that meeting, that'll be presented. I know the council then intends to take public comment after that as well. The packet for the organizational assessment workshop is public. It was published today. And then the packet for the City Hall workshop, we're planning on posting that on Tuesday. So that'll be on the streets with the designs and everything a whole week in advance of that workshop.
Okay.
That's all we have. That's all I have. Daniel or Joe have anything to add? Okay.
All right. Anybody have any committee member reports?
I just have a comment. I'm really sorry that we don't have a liaison anymore. I thought that served an important function. Councilman Maroney was often able to clarify things for us. And there were times when we specifically directed him, take this message to council. And I think we're going backwards on this. I really think it's not forward progress. And I don't know if we should send a message that we wish we could at least have a liaison, or if there's anything to be done, or if it can be undone, or I don't know what. I just thought it was good to have somebody.
Is it something that
If you guys wanted to, yeah, you could. I mean, so the council liaison thing that just went down in the last council meeting was they made a decision to remove them for various reasons they listed on their own. You could ask them, you could motion and make a request that they reconsider, at least for the Parks and Recs Committee, having a liaison appointment. I suppose you could make a request that they reconsider the whole lot, but who knows if they're going to do that. If you're really focused on just having a representative here, or you wish that Councilman Maroney was here, you could always motion that as well. It's whatever you guys are comfortable with. Alternatively, if you're comfortable with just not having a liaison, you could leave it as is. It's kind of up to you.
as a member / just a resident, could it be brought just to a city council meeting? Like,
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. And of course, if
Wouldn't
you're
have
not
to
comfortable
be
as a committee, you could
as a
individually do
committee,
it. Yeah.
but yeah, I get it.
As a committee, it makes a bigger statement than if you show up and say, I'm citizen Megan Zerden. I think we should have liaisons.
I agree. I don't know if our committee would agree with it, though. I don't know.
Well, a motion and see. That we should say at least that,
I guess I would want more time to think on it, too.
You know, from a personal standpoint, those guys are in 4 or 5 hour meetings on these council meetings, and then they have, like, we're on 2.5 hours here now. That's a lot to ask of these guys. You know, they're not getting paid a ton of money to sit there, and so I understand why they don't want to. They can watch it on videotape. Mr. Eck has to sit through them, and Mr. Chansky was here
I'm being
tonight.
paid, to be honest.
Right. But
I
what I'm saying
actually
is-
am making a salary, so
I'm assuming you could relay whatever we
can-
might need to impart on the council, and just as well as Mr. Maroney might, I would think, but
Or do they have us come back and present to them like we did? or I did
Once.
I think what I,
Once.
turn my mic off. I think what I heard them say when I was at the meeting was that, you know, they could watch the meeting, you know, the video of this and know what's going on. That they would rather do that. That's what I remember hearing.
Hear from the
them say.
horse's mouth versus in anybody's interpretation? Is that
but
good?
that's after.
Yeah.
Right.
That's after the meeting. It's not, when, how many times did he speak up and say,
Right.
this is how stuff went down and this is the situation, and clarified something for us? I think it helps us. Otherwise, there's times we're floundering, to be honest. Many times we're deep in the weeds and floundering.
Just a couple things. I mean, I agree with both sides, I guess, because Maroney is now on the City Hall committee, design committee, so that's more hours of his time. So I do think there are, like Bill said, there's a lot of time being put into lots of things. I loved having him here, though. I did, and I do think that helped. But we do have these guys who are both at both places.
Right.
And we do have the opportunity, which they said, to come, like you said, Megan, to go to their meeting and present or ask things of them. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle of it. I think it's,
Having been on planning and zoning and being and council simultaneously, because I was the liaison at that time was a voting member on both. And the meetings went just as long. Sometimes things went till 2 a.m., and I'm not kidding. It's
Do we
what you-
want-
it's what you take on when you step up and say, I'm willing to serve.
I think we have a lot going on here now,
Paid
you
and
know?
we're looking at
We have a lot of
2
things
meetings
going
a
on.
month for 2 or 3 hours.
well, they pay me.
Not paid at all. They are paid.
I think that is something that needs to be leveled off. It has to be one way or the other. I don't agree with that, but that I've already brought up to council, so.
I think a liaison was a good idea. I think it served us well.
Well, can we try it without a liaison? I mean, we have to now, because they voted
Right,
that.
right.
So I guess we try it, go with it, and then we see how it rolls, and if it's a problem, if it becomes a problem
we feel
for
like
us,
we-
then we can address it.
Say this isn't working for us.
It just,
I
it
do f- I feel
lengthens
like you do,
everything
Gail, like,
out, It kind of
I do
like, it
feel
just
mixed.
drags things out longer, because then we got to go back to them, whatever. But things drag out anyway, I'm
We do
learning.
anyway, right? Nothing's-
So sadly, nothing turns on a dime, so let's try it, and we can make our feelings known.
Well, I suppose if they're on their toes, they would be watching this movie tomorrow and would
Video.
see that there was discussion.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And
Well-
what I'm getting is that you did not dislike having a liaison. You just feel you don't want the poor guy to have to be here an extra meeting.
Right.
Yes,
Correct.
that's exactly how
So
I
it's
feel.
not that the function
No,
is no longer needed. It's just,
I think it was very helpful.
I think
many
it was very
times.
helpful, but I
Logistics a
think
little
it's a lot to ask of him.
Yeah. I think we're more experienced now too, because we were
Now that we're-
pretty fresh, the whole group of us, and we're getting a little more, gelled and experienced, and hopefully we're getting through some of the big things now too. But we do have a lot on our plate for the future, so,
We do.
and so do they. A lot.
so it looks like all the help we could have would be nice.
I think the council's already voted on that they don't want to do it right now, or that they don't think it's necessary right now. So we just go with it, see how it goes, see how,
You were at the meeting. Was it a unanimous vote?
I don't remember, they were, how long those meetings are.
Yeah, I do believe it was unanimous. I don't think anybody, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was unanimous.
Maybe they didn't think we were worth spending the time on.
Well, no, I mean, there was also the discussion of us having more of our own authority, and we had the option to be a board instead of a committee, and then we could make our own decisions like that, and we opted not to. So at this time, we opted not to. So I think they were willing to give us more authority. They know we are an important part going forward. So I don't feel that way about that.
I feel like I need to sleep on it and think about it more.
Let's talk about it next time and see how it goes.
Can that be something on the agenda next time?
Would you all like it to be on the agenda? Is there general consensus that you want to have an agenda item to talk about this in more detail at your next meeting?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if the six of you
Just
are
revisit.
okay with it and you all just want to
Let's
nod
make it a
head.
point.
What else are we gonna say about
We can revisit it.
Right.
I think we can always invite them to come. If there's something that we're talking about, if we're ready to move on the community garden, we can invite them to come to the meeting. That's always
Can only be so many.
option,
Right?
which then maybe.
We need to be more proactive about that kind of stuff, yeah. And if we need Michael to come with his
I
expertise,
say
we can ask him, and I bet he would.
I say we try it, but always knowing that we could request.
Well, if we felt we needed him here, we could put whatever we were gonna ask him early in the agenda. So he would leave after the first.
Absolutely.
We don't know we need them. Sometimes we didn't know we needed Mike's input.
I agree. I don't disagree with that, Diane. I just think if council unanimously chose to do this, maybe we try it. And if it's not working for us, or we feel like we're getting stuck, like we did tonight, okay.
Back and say,
Well,
we'd like you to reconsider.
Do most cities have liaisons or don't they? What's the typical thing?
In my experience, no. Most places do not have liaisons, not in the way that they've been characterized here. Administrator Chansky might disagree with that based on his experience. I think that's consistent with his as well, based on conversations that I've had with him. To be honest, this is the first city where I've seen something like that, where a council member came to like committee meetings and sat in the entire time and did reports. Usually that's just staff's function. That's my experience working in professional city government, but every place is unique. If some places want to do so, I've worked in plenty of cities that have done other things that are like, you know, they need the fire district chief there every day, and the fire district's like the county. And most places don't do that either. So it's kind of like, you know, so it's kind of, every place is unique.
So did they get rid of like the liaison to the police department and accounting and the fire board and everything? Did they get rid of all those liaisons?
Oh, well, no, they didn't. Okay, so they got rid of the liaisons that were like city focused, but like the Joint Powers Board, that's not actually a liaison, that's an appointment. They are required to have like I think 2 council members on the Joint Powers Board. They can't do away with that. That's a part of the contractual agreement with the Pequot Lakes Fire District. So like they didn't do that, but the liaisons in the sense of.
Yeah, so essentially,
Yeah.
apart from city council, the only things the councils have a secondary appointment is the mayor and Councilmember Ball are appointed to the Joint Powers Board, and that's because the Joint Powers Agreement that established the board says the mayor's a member and a council member for every 2 years. So Councilmember Ball was on there for 2 years. They reappointed her, and then they appointed an alternate to fill if one of them can't be there. That was Councilmember Jensen. And then the Heartland Cable Commission is the same thing. It's 1 council member and a member of the public. They appointed Councilmember Maroney to that. But apart than that, yes. So all committee liaisons, so Planning Commission, Parks and Recreation, and the Cemetery Commission, they removed those. And from a staff liaison perspective, what you were talking about, Diane, they actually removed those last year. So they don't do anything. So pretty much the only things that have extra, if you want to call them extracurricular, are Joint Powers Board and Heartland Cable Commission. Yes, Councilmember Maroney is on the City Hall design team. Obviously, that's
A special project.
pretty much, that's kind of a special project and is coming to an end. You know, they'll be making a kind of a decision soon on whether they're going to proceed or not. So that's kind of coming to an end. But any other appointments are kind of an as needed on a special basis.
Okay. All right.
Can I move to adjourn?
Yes. There's a second? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned.